Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, and so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show. Booyah!
Happy New Year!
Here we are! Football is back.
How good did last night feel?
Oh, that was great.
Turning the television on at 8:30 and watching kickoff of a real football game.
And everybody that told, I love preseason, it's football. No, it's different.
Yeah, it's not.
It's different. Watching what we watched.
It's glorified practice that you charge a lot of money for people to come watch.
Yes.
It's unbelievable. But it's back. It's great. We can't wait. 50 hours from right now, our season begins.
Yeah.
And we are excited about that. We're going to talk all about everything Browns-Bengals throughout the next 2 hours. Welcome to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. I'm back in studio. I feel great. I was not sick. For all those that reached out, I had COVID, but I never had. I felt like I had a mild cold for a couple of days. And with protocol and having to observe all of that in respect of others, you stay away, you do your part. But I can just tell you, this bout of COVID compared to my first one, it was night and day. It was no difference. I had the worst sore throat of my life first time.
Wow.
I wouldn't have even known I was sick if I didn't see the positive test on this one. So enough on that. A lot to get into today. We're going to talk about headlines, our pre-written headline, who wins the game. We're going to give our predictions. We're going to talk a lot about the X factors. Offense and defense, I'm sure we all have someone different who the X factor is going to be this weekend. We're also going to get into, and I love this, the Browns Superlatives. And Mary Kay Cabot's going to join us in the second half hour. She's going to give us all things Browns and Bengals as we get ready to start the season. Mikey McNuggets, anything from you?
Yeah, if you could put your microphone on the other side of your zipper, that'd be very helpful and make it sound a lot better, Jay. Glad to have you back.
How's that?
It sounds much better.
I moved it about an inch, but if you say that does it, that does it.
No, it actually does, because now when you're looking that way, you're talking into it.
Facts.
So
Facts.
That was a Director Steve call, but we're glad to have you back, Jay.
Good to be back.
It feels weird to have a Friday show before the game without our guy DQ. But I just texted DQ. He said he's watching right now, so DQ, we appreciate it. He's working with the Browns, so we can't give away the internal secret.
So he's done with us? He can't come on anymore?
Contractually, unfortunately, we cannot have DQ on with us on a weekly basis.
Wow.
But he's still watching. DQ's part of the family. And, Steve, you can see behind Bull, the bottle of whiskey that I brought in and have been holding for DQ when he's in Cleveland is still sitting on our set, waiting for DQ to come pick it up in person. So
I don't know if that's going to happen now.
DQ.
Do we know his role? Do we know what his role is with the Browns officially?
Yes, I'm not sure I'm at liberty to say.
Oh, so wow.
Why is this a secret for so long?
Yeah, I don't get that.
Well, it may be very well okay to say. I'm just not 100%.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, well,
everything in the NFL is a secret.
Send your boy a text.
It's more. I just don't want to get myself in trouble.
No, that's fair.
So I'm just going
to
to
sign that NDA. He's not playing around with him. Yeah, he want all his checks.
It can't be secretive, guys.
No.
I mean, we're not the KGB here. It's football.
No, I don't think it's secret. I just don't want to be the one to say something I'm not supposed to.
If someone can find out exactly what Paul DePodesta's role is, what influence he has on this organization, let us know, because that seems to be top secret information.
I've asked about 4 or 5 players that over the last couple of weeks. They're all like,
I don't know. He takes a paycheck, a big one, and he's clearly won the ear of the Haslams. He's the only guy that has survived, a lot of these regime changes.
Right.
We'll get into this later throughout the week, but into the season. For me, this season is absolutely an indictment or endorsement on him. He's the sole survivor. He and Jimmy, and you can't fire the owner.
It's on everybody.
It is on everyone, Bull. I agree with that. And there'll be, he won't be the only one to go.
Yeah.
But if this regime doesn't work, bye-bye.
Yeah, he's got it. He should go. Everybody should go.
Yeah,
but he should go. 100%.
And we talk about all that as a prelim to the conversation about Browns Bengals, because guys, we can't overstate this, and I don't think we have. This season is DEFCON, red, whatever you want to say. All the alarm bells are ringing in the building, and it is a 5-alarm fire. They have got to win this year.
I think it's the most important season they've had in 30 years.
That's well said.
At least, right?
Does anybody disagree with that?
I wrote about it this morning. Kevin and Deshaun are tethered to each other, and each one needs the other.
Yeah.
Kevin is counting on Deshaun to keep his job, and Deshaun needs Kevin to get back to where he was.
Now, I think there are others that are responsible if Deshaun doesn't work.
Sure.
But it's
on
Kevin's
Kevin.
job to make it work.
Yeah.
But, he's just got to make it's an arranged marriage. He didn't go to management and say, I can't work with Baker. I've got to work with this guy.
He came
His hands were tied.
He came here in 2020 thinking he was going to work with Baker for the next 10 years.
That's exactly right.
And now, like, no one could have predicted this. No one could have predicted
this. You look at the possibility of extremes for what this franchise is going to be, say, for the next 5 years. If Deshaun Watson gets back to anywhere close to the player he was in Houston, and the Browns win a lot of games and go to the playoffs this year,
all's good.
Then he and Berry and Stefanski will probably be here, they'll be here a decade at least.
Yes.
All that'll happen. All the things you always wanted from the Browns, stability, the same coach, the same GM, the same quarterback, will all happen if this year goes well and he plays well and they make the playoffs. On the other hand, if his disastrous play from last year continues into this year, the Browns are in a beyond horrible place.
Yeah, because not only do they look at another regime change, but they're handcuffed with the quarterback contract, the lack of draft picks. And you said a decade. I think that's way too long. Nothing gives you a decade honeymoon. Look at the Rams situation 2 years ago and where they are today. They made the all-in trade, and it worked. And everything is fractured in LA.
But Stafford is a lot older than Watson is. So if it works here, I'm saying by the time Watson gets to year 5, that would be, year 8 or 9?
Well, we're already in year 2.
Right. But I'm saying
that clock moves fast.
It does, sure.
They're going to be good.
Everyone internally is adamant.
Says the ambassador of Kool-Aid.
Everyone internally in Berea is adamant Deshaun is back.
Yes. I talked to Jimmy Donovan about it at length. His approach on this is just wait until you see the offense. Now, the caveat with that is when you talk in that kind of hyperbole, and it's not coming from Jimmy, this is coming from everybody he's talking to at the Browns.
Right.
We showed nothing in the preseason. The NFL isn't going to know what hit them. It better be good.
Yeah.
It better be real good.
Yeah.
Because the expectations from the voices that we trust in Berea are ramped up. Wait until you see what we've got in store. Okay. We find out in 50 hours. Go ahead, Mikey.
We got a big show in store, and before we do that, I got to tell you guys about the official athletic sponsor of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show for at least today's episode, and that is our dear friends at Bird Dogs. You need athletic and casual shorts and sweatpants for the summer or fall or, heck, even winter. Check out Bird Dogs. They work for working out. They work for walking around town. They work for going out on the town. Bird Dogs, the official shorts of today's episode of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. And, Jay, yesterday we heard some news. On top of Denzel Ward still being concussion protocol, Juan Thornhill didn't practice. Both of their statuses are up in the air for Sunday's game against what some would say, and I would say as well, is the best receiving core in football.
Did anyone else get a pit in their stomach when they heard the Thornhill news?
Yeah, that was a big deal, although Jason says he thinks he's going to play.
That's just gut.
Yeah,
that's
not
right. I was at practice yesterday. Zach Jackson and I watched the beginning of the opening stretch, and he had some sort of wrap on his calf. I would be surprised if he didn't play, but maybe it's more serious than what I'm aware of.
I was surprised last night when Travis Kelce didn't play. Because when we heard about the injury earlier in the week, I thought, this is Travis Kelce. This is the opener. He's going to go.
I think that's why he didn't play. It's the opener.
Yeah.
Kansas City, I've said it for weeks. Cincinnati doesn't care about this game nearly as much as Cleveland does.
No, I agree with that. Well, look at the start Cincinnati got off to last year, and they still dug out of that hole.
It's the same thing last night. What team did that game matter to more? The Chiefs or the Lions?
All the reaction from people about the Chiefs yesterday was
let's temper that.
We're not hedging no bets on the Bengals. Y'all better come ready to play. Don't tell me it don't count. You get your butt on that plane.
It counts, G. But I think to Jason's point, just like the game we saw last night, it was clear. It was Detroit's Super Bowl.
Yes.
This is going to set the tone for what Dan Campbell hopes is their big turnaround.
Yes.
Kansas City, I don't care what anybody says. After you come off the high of playing in a Super Bowl or a Game 7 championship, and then you have a hangover offseason, that first game is one of the most difficult games to get up to of all time. Because your juxtaposition of that game is what you just came from.
And it's the Lions.
And it's the Lions. And by the way, that doesn't mean that the Chiefs didn't want to win.
Of course
the Bengals want to kick the Browns' ass.
Of
but
course.
Didn't you feel, though, that, by the way, I don't know how that many Chiefs fans sold their tickets to Lions fans.
There were a lot of Lions fans
I've never seen
it felt like they won the
Arrowhead.
Super Bowl, the reaction to that.
It was crazy. When they came back at the end of the game after like some 10 or 15 minutes and the Chiefs fans had filed out, and they gave you that panoramic of the stadium.
Yeah.
It looked like it was about a fourth of the way filled with blue shirts.
I was stunned. And I thought the reaction on Twitter from people as if the Lions had now arrived based on this one game is insane. But the same thing's going to happen if the Browns win this game.
Look, the Lions were good last year, guys. They were a good football team.
That is a big win.
It is a big win.
Of course it is. Coach trying to sell his plan.
Yes.
You go on the Arrowhead. They could have lost that game. They won it.
They should have lost that game.
Now, you look at it, and here's the thing about the Chiefs. Everybody wants to talk about Chiefs. Well, be patient. But look, they got a 34-year-old tight end with a bruised knee who can't put weight on it in a pool.
Yeah, that surprised me, G.
When you get to be 34, you just don't turn around and stuff heal right. I didn't see much separation from these receivers.
Average.
Did they have any separation from receivers last year?
No, but they had Kelsey as the safety net.
Yeah, but he'll be back next week.
The running game.
They hope he will. They hope he will.
What about that left tackle? Listen,
What a job by NBC, by the way, for pointing out all night long that this guy wasn't bending the rules. He was breaking the rules.
It was crazy.
And on the game's most pivotal play, they nailed him.
They got him.
They got him.
And he was doing it the whole game. Listen, I'll give it to him. Listen, Aiden Hutchinson, he was relentless. They stuck to what they were doing, and they played zone. They didn't give up anything big in the play of the game. They get a pick six on the tip ball.
Let's get back to the Browns.
Dan Campbell, by the way, real quick, is going to cost the Lions games. He made so many stupid decisions in that game. They got lucky.
Well, Campbell deciding to go for it, where he did, when he did, he gave the Chiefs.
I thought that was a good call.
See, no, I disagree with that, Bull. Yeah. Now, it worked out. He was lucky that it worked out. I know you always go for it on fourth down. Go for it.
Yeah.
However, in that situation, you give Kansas City a short field. Now, they had the big drop on the play, on their very first play, that puts them in field goal range. Then they have the big penalty. Yeah. So they did undo themselves. But Dan Campbell got lucky because he made a decision last night.
Dan Campbell's not in the game that matters right now to us.
We always do, but go ahead, Mike.
It's back to Thornhill.
Yeah.
What you say he's going to play. When I first heard the news, I'm like, no, we can't be without him.
Yeah.
I'm getting word that Denzel Ward, the expectation is that Denzel Ward will be cleared and will be on the field.
He's going to play.
So
I can't keep my earpiece in, but
my mind is at ease with that for now, even though, Jason, I think it was you that brought it up last week. This is a situation that we need to keep one eye on
100%,
all year
100%.
for the rest of his career.
Yeah.
He's had a number of concussions at his size, and he plays a high collision position. Not on every play, but he's involved in very violent collisions at that position. We'll be looking at that all year. Yes. But you telling me that you got a gut that Thornhill will go and that Denzel will go, we're going to need those guys in this game more than any other game this year.
There's no excuses in this game. The Browns are, assuming these two guys play, it's the healthiest they've ever been coming out of training camp. They have nobody hurt.
Wow.
Nobody. Do they have anybody?
Well, the linebackers are dinged. What's Harrison Bryant's deal?
They're all ready to go. They're all ready to play.
He's been on the field. I've seen him on the practice.
They have the only people on the injury report are Ward and
Thornhill.
And this is why this game matters. When you look at the Bengals, the difference between the Chiefs and the Lions and the Bengals and the Browns is A, it's the Bengals and the Browns, and B, this is a division game. Like, if you want to act like this don't count, well, they may have the luxury of doing that.
Nobody's saying it doesn't count. I'm just saying, you would agree it's a bigger. It means more to the Browns than it does the Bengals.
Because it's at home.
No.
You got to hold serve at home.
It means that it's a division game.
It's huge.
And think about it. If you win this one, you don't know what's going to happen at the end of the year. The game is in front of you. This one counts just as much as the other one does. And you don't want to give away games, especially division games, in these first four. If you want to get the Bengals and get them while they're down, you get them now.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to take every rep they want. Give me that game, I'll take it.
Well, which one of you lunatics was saying you'd rather Deshaun play well in a loss?
No.
Remember that one?
That means nothing.
I stand by that.
First of all,
wait, what did you say, Mike?
That's insanity.
I want that one.
Let's clarify the thing we were talking about, okay?
Yeah, because that makes no sense what you just said.
I said that the question I asked was, and this was before we knew Burrow was going to play, I said, would you rather the Browns lose 38-35 to Burrow when Deshaun Watson plays an amazing game, they lose 38-35, or Trevor Siemian at the time, he's no longer the Bengals' backup quarterback, plays for the Bengals and the Browns win 10-6 and Deshaun Watson looks like crap?
Give you the win.
Of course.
That's all that matters.
Of course.
There's no style points.
These lunatics were telling me they'd rather lose than Deshaun
Yeah, no,
play
that's
well.
an absurd question.
No, it's
that's
not.
absurd.
It's not, but it's all
That's
right.
insane.
Because as you know, Bull,
Yeah.
NFL success is week to week.
The Browns can only do anything in the AFC if Deshaun Watson's good. If he's not good, it's irrelevant if they win that game because they're not going to be any good.
You're right, but Bull,
Yeah.
every win is currency. It's gold.
Yes.
All
Agreed.
the other
Yes.
stuff is just.
Sorry, I should have mentioned that. Back on track.
Agreed. That's a terrible job. Mike's going to give you a dirty look.
Well, I think we
All right, we're
settled
done
the
with the
point,
Thornhill
though.
conversation.
I think we are. I think we are because
Yeah.
I'm not worried. Tell me not to be
Well,
worried. I'm not
I don't.
worried.
It's not anything like.
dropped an S
It's
bomb.
just. I just think he's going to play.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
It's just me.
And look,
This is the biggest opening day game. We said it's the biggest season in 30 years. It's the biggest opening day game in 30 years. It is unbelievable because, yeah, the Browns finally won an opener last year, but they had the miracle comeback against a garbage team. This year, they're playing one of the best teams in football.
In a division
the
game.
second best quarterback in football, at home,
Yeah.
in the division, in a season where they have massive expectations, and in a season where they might have finally, we all think they finally have their first great quarterback, their first even good quarterback since Bernie Kosar. So everything, the season's not over, obviously, if they lose. But if they win this game, it's going to be the cockiness and confidence from Browns fans is the highest I've ever seen going into the season.
Is it really?
I know it's always high.
Because I thought after the 11-5, I thought that this team felt like they were ready to blow the lid off.
Fans are talking about the Browns' success against the Bengals the last couple of years as if that means they're a Super Bowl team.
Right. No, that means nothing.
And so I think the hype for this team, if they win this game, and that's a high-quality win. They're underdogs at home.
Yeah.
Slight underdogs, but underdogs.
What is it, 2.5?
It went down to 2 this morning.
Interesting.
Yeah. I think it's just beyond a massive win.
Can anybody disagree with what Bull said, that this is the biggest home opener for the Browns since the rebirth? Can you disagree with that?
No, this is a big home opener. One, because we look at what the quarterback position is. Two, it's a game that is in the division. Three, you got a head coach who this is where the rubber meets the road. And four, you've brought in a bunch of new additions that have basically shown that you are all in this season.
Yeah.
So obviously you got to have some success in these first few games, especially when you come back on a short week. You got the Pittsburgh Steelers. Think about this. You come in here, if Deshaun Watson looks like Deshaun Watson and they hit the ground running, Myles Garrett is moving around, the team is playing well, then you go into Pittsburgh, people are going to be jacked up. People
the white helmets,
with
too,
the
by
white
the way.
helmets ready to go. Like at the confidence level that you're seeing, Bull, is the confidence level not in like the Cleveland Browns magic. The confidence level is steeped in we got ball players. I've seen all of these dudes. I've seen Zadarius Smith play well. I've seen Dalvin Tomlinson play well. I've seen Juan Thornhill raise a Super Bowl trophy. So if I'm looking at the players and the pieces and parts, there should be no issues where they come out like a couple years ago and get boat raced in the infamous Tennessee Titans game.
That's the game. That's the year I keep going back to. In importance, you're right. This is the most important opener since they came back, bar none.
Yeah.
In terms of fan excitement, I don't think it's the most because
Yeah,
I
I
remember
don't either.
2019 coming off Baker's rookie year with Freddie Kitchens as the coach. They were lining up to get in the Muni lot the night before the game. I was out there. I went out there and wrote a story on the line of people and the excitement.
I remember it well.
Football is back. Oh my God, we finally have a quarterback. Everything is right in the world again. Cleveland, nothing can stop us now.
Odell had a watch like this that was way more expensive in the game wearing it.
Yeah, the
it
Richard
was one
Milley watch.
distraction after another.
Yeah.
Freddie
And
was gone. The
it was
season unraveled.
13 penalties. It was an absolute
Freddie.
disaster.
And the
Three
team gave
picks.
up. I was there that day. The
We
thing
don't
that
coach
disappointed
penalties.
me the most about that wasn't the fact that a team with less talent came into our house and kicked us in the mouth. It was that after we got kicked in the mouth, we laid over and stayed down. That was really hard to watch.
Frederick Charles Kitchen, ladies and gentlemen.
What an era. What an era. I don't know that I've ever seen. He's like the Johnny Manziel of coaches. His star burned hot and fast, and it was out in no time.
He's at North Carolina now. I saw
that.
You saw that clip of him yesterday? I didn't even know he was at North Carolina.
Head coach?
No. He's just a position coach. But I was like, wait, whatever happened to Freddie Kitchens?
That playbook he
Carolina.
had for a half a year in 18 Boy, that look. Remember, he was running a full house. He ran a full house back. People was like, "We
right.
sold."
Yeah.
His offense looked great. That 18-year,
Chubb and Hunt in the backfield together.
They listen.
The good old days. Hunt, non-rostered, right?
Still,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's a surprise to me.
Dang.
That is a surprise
For all
to
the
me.
people screaming that Kareem Hunt didn't get
Well,
enough
don't
carries
throw
last
dirt on
year.
him yet.
I'm just saying he can't even get a job
Now,
this year.
Because, well,
Supposedly-
allegedly he's got 4 offers
Yes.
that he's deciding between. They just might want to let you know here, the season starts in
It's
50
odd.
hours.
It's odd.
Like, if he had 4 offers, you'd think he'd be on a
must
team.
have- It must have been bad money and not
Bad
much
money's
guarantee of
better than no money.
playing
Listen,
time. I don't know.
I'd take a 1-year prove-it bad deal
Yeah.
before I'd sit on the couch and get heavy.
exactly
It's
right.
stupid.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
And by the
Leonard
way,
Fournette doesn't have a job
Which
either.
makes me wonder if he really does have.
by the
four
way,
offers.
how many games
too.
did the Bengals win last year? Lose last year. Lose.
Well, they were 12-4, weren't they? They only had
17
they had
games.
16 games.
Oh, that's
The
right.
Bills
That's
game,
Yeah,
right.
yeah, 12
They
and
didn't
4,
play.
right.
They lost 4 games last year.
Yeah.
You can't tell me over in that other locker room they're thinking like, look, we need to get off to a good start because Kansas City is already down 1-0.
Dude, all I'm saying, of course they want to get, good
Yes.
start. You don't think they're sick of hearing about how the only team they can't beat is the Browns? Of course they want to win. What I'm saying is from a fan's perspective. If you're a Bengals fan and the Bengals lose to the Browns, you're not panicking about the season.
No.
If you're a Browns fan and they lose to the Bengals, there's going to be somewhat of a here we go
It
again.
does depend how they lose.
Right,
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
You know, if
That's
they
true.
lose, like you said, 38-35,
Yeah.
Watson balls out.
Yeah.
There's no such
Right.
thing as a moral victory.
Right.
But you can take something from that,
Yeah.
even though it's not
Tough
the ultimate
loss, but
dub,
look how good our offense
Yeah.
is.
against the yardstick
Right.
team in your
Our
division.
defense needs time to gel. We got a new coach. You
Right,
come up
right.
with-
So there will be things they can take from
Right.
it. But guys, I hearken back to last year. This is why I'm really, really optimistic going into Sunday. I watched essentially these same 2 teams with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback on
Yeah.
Halloween night boat race this
Yep.
team. I mean, it
Yeah.
wasn't a fluke. Every time the Browns got the ball, they marched it right down the field. The Bengals were inept. They couldn't do anything. It wasn't a close game. It was a tail kicking. And I don't know what it is about Kevin Stefanski against the Bengals.
Right. But the
he
Bengals
seems
won the
to have
second
their-
matchup
I know they
with
did.
Watson.
I understand that.
But the Browns in the last 2 years, because obviously I watch every Browns game and I watch every Bengals game, the Browns have played better football against the Bengals than anybody.
I
and
agree.
It's not close. The only time the Bengals have been blown out in the last 2 years has been by the Browns.
That's right.
That's it.
That
Baker
is exactly
Baker had
right.
his best games against the
know.
Bengals.
Didn't Case Keenum beat the Bengals?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
And
like
I think that was a game-
Dearness,
if you look it up, we're
Johnson?
4-1 against Joe Burrow. I
Right,
think
right.
it's with
Yeah.
3 different quarterbacks have wins
Yeah.
against him. So I think this is the Stefanski thing. I don't know how he seems to have their number.
These things just happen sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes it just happens. You
Yeah.
can't explain it. There are matchups too sometimes that just favor one team over the other. There's no question. Well, there is some question. The Bengals, I think everybody here would agree, and most everybody that covers the league would agree, have the better team.
Yes.
But the
Until
sum of the
proven
parts
otherwise, yeah.
somehow for the Browns always seems to
matchup.
come out
Well,
on their end.
I think a huge part of that has been 2 players, Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward. They have played like their absolute best football
Yeah.
against the Bengals.
Denzel
Ward
had a
has made
big
a big
six
play every
early
game.
a couple years ago.
Yes, that was a huge play because the Browns had scored, and then the Bengals were marching the ball right down the field.
Right on they were first and goal. I
Yes,
think.
and then Myles Garrett, I think we had the stat as 9 sacks, right? Mike, what's the stat Myles
9.
Garrett against the Bengals?
Wow.
He has 9 sacks in 5 games. And
Yeah, I
30
mean, like he's
pressures.
averaging almost 2 sacks per game. Now, what's interesting, what I think the Browns
Their
should
line's
do,
better though this year.
it
Cincinnati.
is, because you got Orlando Smith Jr. at left tackle.
Right.
Brown.
What I would do if I'm the Browns is I'm playing Myles Garrett had killed Jonah Williams,
Right.
who's been the Bengals left
And
tackle.
he's now the right
he's the
tackle.
right tackle.
So you'd switch him.
I'd put Myles Garrett on him because he's killed Myles Garrett has killed Jonah Williams,
Yeah.
destroyed him. And even though Myles Garrett could beat anybody, but obviously Orlando Brown is a lot better than Jonah
Yeah, but
Williams.
what does it signal? I don't like that idea though of running from the dog versus dog matchup.
I hear you.
I just you know what?
Yeah.
It's
They're
not
better
running-
at left tackle, but Garrett's still better.
Yeah, of course he is. But it's also, I mean, they move Miles around all the time.
Yeah.
So
not
he's-
every play. You don't
Not
do it
every play.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
they move. I mean, that was Jadeveon Clowney's big complaint last year, right?
Right.
That they were giving Miles a more
Yeah.
favorable matchup. So it's going to happen. He's going to be. They're going to move him around.
Yeah.
They're not going to leave him on one side.
All right. It was on here to talk about whether or not this was the last game you want to see Thornhill and Denzel Ward
and
miss.
I think we all agree with
I think
that.
we agree they're going to play, and I think it's pretty much, you don't want them out
I feel more
against a team
confident
that has 3 really good receivers.
I feel more confident Denzel's going to play than Wine, just for the record.
Yeah, I think I do too. I mean, I've heard from guys that Denzel looks like he's a go. You're telling me your gut tells you Thornhill will play.
Who starts in front of Thornhill? I mean, if
Rodney
Thornhill can't
McLeod.
Yeah.
That's what you disregard Rodney McLeod for. He's a veteran.
I think Ward would be as much as I like Thornhill, I think Ward would be a bigger loss in this game than Thornhill.
For sure.
There's no doubt.
All right, before we do our Browns and Bengals X Factors, offense and defense, let's get a quick read from Mike.
Yeah, after the Browns and Bengals game on Sunday, you already know the place to be, and that is with G. Bush, myself, and Earl for the UCSS post-game show. It starts with a 2-minute warning of the fourth quarter, and we will do live reaction breaking down the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between. Once again, it is Earl, G. Bush, and myself. Anthony may be joining us this week, but we'll be breaking down all the finest that happens on Sunday.
And that's right after the game,
AFC
right? Or
North.
did you start for the 2-minute warning?
Start the 2-minute warning,
Okay, very good.
and then we go for about an hour after.
Very good. Also, are we prepared to make the announcement? Have we already made the announcement?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
Are we allowed to say that we've got a big announcement coming?
We've been
They
saying
know
that.
announcement.
good.
Hopefully
I don't know why we can't announce
For
it.
like 2 weeks.
No, I don't know why
on
we
Monday,
can't either.
We have the official clear to say.
Well, I
yes,
would certainly hope so, because at some point it's surprise. Here it is.
Can we text and find out if we can say it today?
No, I can tell you for a fact we cannot say it till after.
All right.
this
So we're
afternoon.
killing the Browns earlier for being KGB, and now we're being KGB.
Y'all super G14
So
classified.
but here's what we'll say: watch and win. We've got a big announcement coming in the days ahead, and we think
it's going to be next. It's going
to have to be next week, and there's a hint for you.
Yeah, there you go.
So, all right, let's do. Do you want to start with offense?
Yes, go
X-factors?
offensive
And how
first.
do you want to do this?
Jay, you know what? You've been here in a few days.
Right.
Let's start with your offensive X factor, the guy you're looking forward to having a major impact on the game.
And-
You changed your pick.
Yeah, my reading comprehension skills stink.
I did the same thing.
You and Jason,
I
you
did
and
the same
Jason did
thing.
the
When I
exact
was trying to
same thing.
multitask yesterday while I was getting ready for the 5 o'clock show on Channel 3, I glanced through what this was.
That's exactly what I did.
And I immediately said, oh, that's easy. And then as I was diving into it this morning to sort of build my case, I thought, wait a minute, I can't go that way because you specifically said no Myles Garrett as the X factor on defense, no Deshaun Watson as the X factor on
So I
offense. And
texted
had
him Myles
Watson.
Garrett.
Yeah, I texted Watson. He's the X factor, period, done, end of it. He's
right,
the X factor, not just for this game, but for the season. But I ended up changing it, and you guys are going to be surprised with who I went with. But I went with David Njoku.
Okay.
I think that he is the X factor in this offense this year, not wearing number 4. He's been paid like a top 5. He's been treated by management like he's a top 5. His numbers have never been close to top 5 production. This is a make or break year for a lot of people in this organization. We've gone through that. DePodesta, Stefanski, Andrew Berry, on and on and on. This is the year. But number 85 has got to produce like a top 5 tight end. End of it, full stop, period. He has to have an 8-catch, 90-yard, 1-touchdown game Sunday against the Bengals, because I think if he is involved in the offense, I think it opens so many other things. So my X factor is David Njoku. Got to have a big game.
I'm not mad at that. Not mad at that.
G, you're up next, by the way.
I think I went with my man. Did I go with Nick Chubb?
You did go with Nick Chubb.
See, this is the crux of the season you're going to get all year. Somebody said, I forget who I was talking to, and somebody said this. They say, listen, no, it's Leroy. Shout out to Leroy. Leroy said, let's not act like Nick Chubb is regular. He's not. That is a poison that if you let get a hold of you on your defensive front, he can kill you by himself. You can lose to the Browns just because Nick Chubb was Nick Chubb that day. Never lose fact inside of that. So now the crux of the position that you want to put defenses in every single game is, do you want 2 high safeties? Because you don't want Deshaun Watson throwing this football to guys that are route precision guys. Marquise Goodwin's the speed demon is back himself. I won't call him demon. It's the speed angel. We'll do that. I'm trying to work on myself. We don't call him that.
He's a good person. He's definitely closer to an angel.
Yes, he's a solid human being. You can't catch him. And now we got a joke underneath. So now we want to say, is it 2 high safety? Or are you going to put 6 6, 7, 8 guys in the box. Which one are you going to pick? Because you can't do both at the
Isn't
same
Watson
time.
going to make teams make that decision? Aren't they going to make him beat them with his arm before they start respecting that?
That's the way I would do it.
Right.
I would say, well, who's the more solid? Who have I seen more from lately? Nick Chubb, I've seen him destroy teams and game plans. So guess what? Now Deshaun Watson, if he's back, that's one-on-one coverage. You got to eat on that. So that's the crux. And if he starts doing that, now our conundrum is there for the other team.
All right.
Jason?
I think we know who Nick Chubb is. I think we know what Nick Chubb does. I think we know what Njoku is. I don't think this is the biggest season of his career because I think he is who he is. He's had 6 years in the league. We know what he is. My X factor is Elijah Moore because we don't know what he is in this offense. And I'm going to talk out both sides of my mouth for a minute because I kind of rolled my eyes a little bit. I think Moore's been overhyped at times this preseason, but I do concede that he's going to play a pivotal role in what they do. Especially, I think he's that speed factor that they haven't had before. And we're not sure with Marquise Goodwin how much he's actually going to be on the field, how much he's really going to
Do we have any hint, by the way?
No, he was in the locker room briefly yesterday, and I wanted to get over to him, and then I couldn't. He was gone by the time I got over to him. But we know Elijah Moore is going to be on the field, and we know he's got the speed. I think he fits a little bit better. One of the things that the Browns felt like last year with the receiving core, Deshaun's a guy, when a play breaks down, he's going to freelance a little bit, and he's going to try and make something happen, and you need receivers who can adjust to that.
Right.
And they don't really have a guy who could really adjust to that. I think Moore might be able to be that guy who can break off his route and come back to the ball, just get open, and it's a little bit of street ball at that point, and just get open and make a play. And I think Moore has that capability. So for me, X factor to me is you're not really sure what you're going to get, and that's.
See, I didn't look at the X factor that way.
Everybody's got
to me, it seems like you looked at it as the X being a question mark, like.
This could be really, really good and push you over the
Yeah,
top.
I'm looking at the pivotal player to make everything go, not named Deshaun Watson.
You see,
I agree with what you say about he's got the biggest question mark over his head.
Yeah.
We don't know what he is and what he can do.
Right.
Guys, we all picked 4 different people. I was thinking like Jason that is a guy you don't have expectations for, but I think there are expectations for Elijah Moore, but there is a question mark with him, right? I picked a guy who's very important, but also has a massive question mark, probably the biggest on the entire offense, and that's Jedrick Wills.
Wow.
He's my X factor because think about this. The most underrated unit in this game, in my opinion, is the Bengals' defensive line. The Bengals' defensive line gets no publicity.
And they're quietly very good.
Because they don't have, like, sexy guys on there. Yeah. But Trey Hendrickson is top 10 pass rusher. DJ Reader is a top 5 run stopper. B.J. Hill, their other starting D tackle, is a good, solid player. And Sam Hubbard, their other starting defensive end, is a very good player. Plus, they have good depth at both defensive tackle and defensive end, and they rotate guys in.
They use it, yeah.
Trey Hendrickson is probably the best pass rusher in football that gets no conversation. Nobody talks about him at all. And he's going to be going up against Jedrick Wills. Jedrick is the biggest question mark on the Browns' offense. If Jedrick holds up against Trey Hendrickson and there's no pressure on Watson, the offense should be great for the Browns.
Yeah,
but if he has a bad day and Hendrickson goes crazy.
Because if he has a bad day, Watson's scrambling and has no time, and that could lead to bad stuff.
That's right. Yeah. And so I got him as, everybody's a good choice. I think Nick Chubb's too big a star for me. Too big of a proven thing. I have Njoku in 2 fantasy leagues, so I need him to.
Oh wow! So you believe then that he's going to step up this year?
I think he's going to have his best year. I don't think he's ever going to be at
Top
Travis
5.
Kelce or even George Kittle or those guys.
I don't need him to be Travis
but
Kelce.
I think he could be just around 5 or 6.
And I drafted Elijah Moore higher than he should have probably
I did take him in the 11th round in my league.
I took him way high because here's the thing.
You took him way higher in the 11th round.
Yeah, I think it was like 8 or something I took him. Yeah, but I think he has, if they're going to talk about him that much, I got to be about it. The only person we heard about all offseason was this guy.
All I'll say is, the guy who got talked about the most this preseason was Jahmyr Gibbs of the Lions. They barely gave him the ball yesterday.
I don't know what the heck
it was ridiculous.
But he looked good when he touched the ball.
When he got the ball, he looked like Tyreek Hill.
I kept screaming to Dan Campbell, did you forget you have this guy?
Because David Montgomery's such a plotter. You know,
I know, but he looked good too.
Yeah, but he's.
But you know what? Their offensive line was a machine last night,
especially at the end of the game.
I had every belief that offensive line was going to be the difference in the game for them as it went on.
McNuggets, you listening to the Cleveland Lions, the radio network.
Oh my God, take it down a notch.
I just said we're doing defensive X factors.
Let's do defensive, but let's go around the horn the other way. Bull, you start.
Defensive X factors. I can't remember who my defensive X factor.
Well, throw his graphic up. Who does he have?
Well, we didn't make special graphics this much. I
got my text.
For people. So let's have Bull pull up his text here. Bull, your defensive X factor was a guy we talked about earlier, Denzel Ward.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
This is huge because Denzel Ward has been a nemesis to Joe Burrow like no cornerback in the league.
You're right.
Denzel Ward is a top, last year he didn't play great, but overall in his career, I'd say right now I look at him as like the 8th to 12th best cornerback in the league. Right? But at times, he looks like a top 5 guy, and I still think he can get there, and maybe this is the year. When he plays against Joe Burrow, they knew each other in college, obviously.
Were they at Ohio State at the same time?
I believe so.
I think they were. I don't know that for sure, but I wondered that last night when I was thinking about this.
Yeah. They must have been.
Ward was drafted in 18, right?
Yeah, and Burrow came out in 20.
Yeah, they had to be there.
And Burrow had obviously transferred, so I think they were too.
Yeah, they were there.
He's his kryptonite, Bull. You're right.
He has played so well against him. He's had such a good feel for him. Jamar Chase has had one good game against the Browns, and that was the game the Bengals won last year. I think it's a huge deal if Denzel Ward can't play. I think he's going to play. I think we're all in agreement there. If he can't play, it's a big deal. Not that the Browns' other corners aren't good, but when you have 3 really good receivers, and it takes a special player to slow down Jamar Chase because he's as good, if not better, than any wide receiver in the game. He's fast, he's tall, he runs good, he does everything well. Denzel Ward has played well against him, and Denzel Ward, for whatever reason, and I'm telling you, I've watched every game that Joe Burrow has played, and I've never seen a corner play better against him than Denzel Ward. End of conversation.
He has his number.
Yeah.
I like that. I'm kind of in the same vein. I went with Martin Emerson. Well, initially I went with Myles until I reread the instructions. Yeah. And then I texted Mikey this morning and said, give me Martin Emerson because I've been on the Emerson train all summer long. I think he's going to have a huge year. I think this is his coming out party in terms of the rest of the league figuring out who this guy is and what he does. And there is still a little bit of question with Denzel whether or not he goes. There's question about Juan Thornhill whether or not he goes. That puts even more pressure to me on Martin Emerson with the Bengals receivers. I love his size. I love his length. I love his physical tenacity, the way that he gets up in guys. I think this guy was a steal where they took him, and I think he's going to be a star in this league. So for me, Martin Emerson's the X factor for the
You're
Browns.
not alone, by the way, on thinking he's going to be a star.
Yeah.
There are a lot of guys around the country that look at him and say he's going to be the guy.
And some of his analytics from last year were off the charts and how
Such
good he was. I'd have to go back and look. I remember looking at the end of last season. Newsome wasn't as bad as we thought he was, and Martin Emerson was even better. But I'll pull him up and look. I'll find him.
G?
Well, see, look, man, look.
This is funny.
This is funny because look, you guys are in the right continent, but not in the right state. I went with Greg Newsome. We go with Greg.
This was not planned.
No, this wasn't
completely
planned.
unplanned.
And Jason had to, usually I have one-liners, but this one-liner is fire. He's like, Picks isn't that's just not his thing. Picks just ain't his thing. And I'm like, dang, that's crazy. I'll be at home looking at the ceiling like, bro, you failed, bro. You missed that one, dog. That was fire. Greg Newsome, we waiting. You get a pick any day. Tomorrow, next week, Saturday against your little cousin, I'll take any picks that you bring to the table and we will count them on the tally sheet. But now, Greg Newsome, see, I know what Ward can do. Ward didn't pick the ball off and took it to the crib. He's been in the game. He's a $100 million man. Martin Emerson, we know he came in and was like, no, that's me. I feel like I'm the best corner. He ain't never gave it. Martin Emerson be practicing. Usually when you good and you hey, we got Denzel over there, you starting. No, he'd be like, no, I'm practicing because I'm that competitive. Greg Newsome, he had the guys that was rumbling about whether you want to play inside or outside. You're going to have a true bona fide receiver, Tyler Boyd, that is going to be a professional. He can run all the routes. They may mix you in on the outside or the inside. You are the guy. If I'm looking at Martin Emerson and Jamar Chase, and I got I got Denzel Ward, and I got Martin Emerson, who is the guy you going at? All of us was, if I'm the quarterback, I'm looking right over at zero. That's an easy battle because I'm gonna keep testing him all. If it's 3rd and 7, Greg Newsome, we're looking your way. Not to say that you're a bad player, not to say that you can't make a play.
You've identified him, and many have, as the weakest link.
They've identified you as a solid player, and picks just not your thing, as we see yet. Maybe you get some knockdowns or something, but that's the guy that I need to be the X factor. Because if he plays well, they in trouble then. Because I know what the other two can do. That's now our secondary is elevated.
I like your logic. I think you nailed it. I went with someone different. But by the way, Jay's right. Picks aren't his thing. I mean, it's funny because it sounds odd to say that about a guy who can make a living on picks.
Still be a very good defensive
There's
back.
so many other things you can do, and he does them. That can make you an effective corner. Picks would be nice because it's like if you're the cleanup hitter, I do need home runs.
Right.
I can't hear.
Well, Chris Antonetti just said the Guardians don't need to hit home runs. So
yeah,
they got Carlos Santana. Don't worry, he's on base though.
And by the way, it was somewhat ironic that as NFL season was beginning last night, shortly after that game ended, the Guardian season officially ended. They blew a 2-1 lead.
Yeah, I thought it officially ended when they lost to the Twins, but
you know what? Then they won, and you thought, okay, they won the last game of the Twin series. But I digress. It's interesting, but I don't think it's by any accident that I'm also going with a defensive back. Mine is Denzel Ward. But I like yours a lot. I like all of them. But guys, I think we're at this stage in this matchup where this is going to be the deciding factor in these games for a number of years. The Bengals wide receivers against the Browns defensive backs. And I know it's not a huge sample size, but so far, advantage Browns defensive backs. They have won these matchups with the quality of play that they've put on the field against what might be the best triumvirate of receivers in the NFL. Can anybody name a team that's got 3 better receivers?
No. The only thing I'll say is I don't know how many times all 3 have played against the Browns.
I don't either because I know there were
might
injuries.
Only be 1 or 2 games.
I remember one of the games last year when the Browns said, well, we weren't ready because they were playing backup wide receivers.
We talked about that.
So, and oddly enough, that's the game that the Browns lost.
Right.
But when it has been the Browns defensive backs, and we know who they are, and they're healthy, against the Bengals wide receivers, advantage Browns defensive backs. I think that is what's going to decide Sunday's game. Who has the better day, the Bengals wide receivers or the Browns defensive backs? And because of that, I'm taking the ringleader of that group, the guy who has been the kryptonite to Joe Burrow's Superman, and that's Denzel Ward. And whether or not he saw him every day in practice and he has a tell with his eyes, or he's picked up something along the way that has allowed him to jump routes and to be effective against the guy that really is considered a top 3 quarterback in this league. So for the Browns to win, the Bengals defensive backs have to win that battle. By the way,
Browns defensive
Browns defensive backs have to win that battle. And by the way, we're going to talk about this later in the show, so don't go anywhere. I think the Jamar Chase comments, we can talk all we want to about players don't hear that, players don't listen to it. BS.
They do.
Players hear it. It motivates them, and I think Jamar Chase did the Browns a huge solid with his comments yesterday.
We're going to talk about that literally in 1 second, but first, before we do, if you guys have not already hit that like button or that subscribe button, do us a favor. It is completely free. It helps us out a long way on the YouTube algorithm. Also, if you want to help us out even a little more, you become a member of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show for $1.99 a month. You can get all the starters tier perks, which include loyalty badges, custom emojis, and members-only community posts for $4.99 a month. That gets you in the coaches tier. That's all the same starter tier perks, overtime videos, daily member shout-outs, much, much more, including the ability to text with the one and only Jason Lloyd on Sunday's game and some select games in the future. Now, Jamar Chase did have some stuff to say yesterday, Jay.
We're going to play it?
Before we dive into it, we're going to listen to it. Anthony,
all right, good.
Let's turn the sound on, and Steve, whenever you're ready, we can take Jamar Chase.
It feel like a regular game to me. It don't feel no different. I mean, it's just the hooping and hollering about the Cleveland Browns. I was about to call them the elves, but yeah.
Are you tired of all the talk about Cleveland and how tough it's been for this team?
I don't really hear it. If you ask me, I don't really pay attention to it because Cleveland is Cleveland. I look forward to the matchup that we have when we're facing them, but other than that, I don't really be caring.
Do you think the elf logo is silly?
It's funny. it's just different, I guess.
You know what? We get blamed in the media for asking baiting questions. That guy had like chum on the end of the line and just threw it in there and said, please bite, please.
We needed
bite.
more. I was disappointed that it ended there.
Yeah.
Because usually when a thread starts, it's like blood in the water and the sharks
everybody
pounce.
jumps in.
And I expected at that point that it would go crazy, but it really, that was pretty much it. Disrespectful, motivational, how do you categorize that?
I agree with him with the elf. I hate the elf.
I do too.
Screw
I think
the
it's
elf.
silly.
Stupid.
Silly.
But the Cleveland is Cleveland thing kind of took me back to the Browns as the Browns, right?
Yeah.
Who was that?
That was the Steelers.
Claypool?
Right, yeah.
Was it Juju?
Claypool? Juju or Claypool? I can't remember.
It was right before the playoff game.
It was Juju.
Yeah, I thought it was Juju.
The Browns is the Browns.
Yeah.
Well, Cleveland is Cleveland.
Yeah. That's
right.
And guys, we've been talking about it all offseason. Like that's the view from the league, from the entire league. It don't matter how much talent the Browns have, until they actually do it on the field, no one's going to take them seriously. Nope. The Browns haven't finished ahead of the Steelers in the standings since 1989. Like,
Wait.
that was my reaction.
That can't be true.
When Zach Jackson told me that. The Browns have not, and I know we're playing the Browns are playing the Bengals. We're talking about the Bengals, not the Steelers. The Browns haven't finished ahead of the Steelers
You know how
in the standings since
disgusting that is?
1989.
Bro, that's one of the
Yeah.
most disgusting
That's insane.
stats I've
What
ever.
are the odds of that happening?
Yeah.
Two teams in a 4-team division, and they haven't beaten them since 1989.
Haven't finished ahead of them.
That is
Haven't
the
finished
biggest
It hasn't been
indictment
4
of this.
teams the whole time, but still, they finished behind them every time.
Well,
the
there-
Browns haven't won the division since they've been back in '99, not once.
I know, but my God, the talent cycle dictates that every 5 to 10
I
you're at
know.
the top
It's
and then
crazy.
the bottom again. They haven't finished ahead of their arch rival since 1989.
So you can understand why Browns is the Browns and Cleveland is Cleveland, why the rest of the division views them that way.
Right, but even though he's factually right, do
It is
you label
disrespectful,
these as
of course.
disrespectful or
Of course,
motivational?
yes.
All of the above.
Should be, yeah.
I you know what I label it as stupid.
Yeah, I don't like when players make.
Why
comments
would you
like
do that? Why?
Now you
would
gotta
do
back it
that?
up, right?
Now
You
you
gotta-
got to go out and
Yeah,
back it up.
Yeah. Now he's capable, but
G's got that devious little giggle.
It's on site. You already know what it is, bro.
I mean the trash talking in this game is going to be nuts.
It's gonna be awesome.
Between the wide receivers and the DBs.
And here's how you know. Here's how you know he's worried about it. Because you wouldn't have said something. You laughing, the Browns is the Browns. See, that's when you're trying to convince yourself of something. I tried to convince myself of that too. I came home from college one year, and my brother was a little kid. Then I came back, and he was 6'3", 315. And I'm like, dang, bro, when did you get big? Still a little brother. Nah, bro, you got to walk smart. I'm not about. He's like, you want to do pass rush? I said, nope, you're not getting me hurt up out here. I'll wait to see you later. You catch me on the
So
other
the
side.
Browns the Browns are your little brother.
Browns have always been a little brother. Browns has always been a joke. And guess what? That elf can either be cool or creepy. Elves are very powerful in the Lord of the Rings. Elves and orcs are kind of magical creatures, and they be doing kind of. Listen, everybody knows you don't mess with Lucky Charms. You don't mess with the Lucky Charm guy. I'm looking at this game,
It
and
hasn't worked so far.
well, listen, I'm gonna tell you what. Here's what happened. Here's what's gonna happen this time, because now it's all about the
Now
players.
the elf is real.
Now it's about the players. See, you was beating up on Baker, and you was beating up on the Colt McCoys of the world, and you was beating up on the Brandon Wheatons, but we got a quarterback now. And we got defensive ends now that can come get you. And we just talked about 3 good corners. And we just talked about a defensive line. Look, the Browns got ball players, and whether you like it or not, game recognized game. These guys work out with these dudes in the offseason. They work out. He ain't had nothing to say against Amari Cooper because he know he's a ball player. He ain't say nothing about Zadarius Smith. He know he's a ball player. We got bona fide ball players on this team, and you just gave us all the motivation we need. Last time I checked Jamar Chase, you need to be worried about catching your boy Justin Jefferson past you, homie. You need to worry about you. You ain't got no jewelry. You ain't got no jewelry. Like, these cats kill me. Everybody chasing Patrick Mahomes, and they acting like they got jewelry and fistful of diamonds and stuff. Listen, y'all still on that track record with us too. Y'all did your thing. Y'all went to the Super Bowl. We appreciate you. Every year is a new year. You got to come to Cleveland, and you got to play. And ain't none of that elf talk gonna get it done. It's on site. And you think Myles Garrett them ain't hearing that? They heard it loud and clear, dog.
So that you're saying they're going to stand up and win one for the elf?
No.
You know what this really signals is that for the first time since Bernie versus Boomer, the Bengals Browns is a rivalry.
Yeah.
Like When's the last time both teams were good?
Both teams was nice and chummy. Oh, because a couple years ago there was a lot of Browns fans that was rooting for the Bengals because they liked Joe Burrow, because they was like, oh, if it's between the Rams and rooting for the Bengals.
Oh, in the Super Bowl.
In the Super Bowl.
Yeah, Joe Burrow's a hard guy to root against.
He's a hard guy to root against, right? But you start to see when Deshaun Watson says, I'm tired of talking about 2019 and 2020. I could be better than 2019 and 2020. That means he feel like, okay, while I was gone, it's some of y'all cats that got good, but don't act like I still ain't good. Like, that type of mentality is permeating. You think, and guys is looking for it. What's the name? Myles Garrett want that Defensive Player of the Year award, right? And to get that stuff, you got to go through teams like the Bengals. So we're going to see what's going to get done.
I think I classified it as stupid. It's motivational. It's certainly disrespectful. But at the end of the day, to me, it's noise. Here's what matters, and we all know this. His comments are quickly forgotten if they win 35-10.
Facts.
If they lose and he doesn't play out and the defensive backs win that battle that I spoke of, then he better get used to hearing about Cleveland. Because they're already a major thorn in his side.
Yep.
They're going to become an anvil around his neck if he can't and the Bengals can't figure out a way to beat the doormat of the division. I don't care if you're going to Super Bowls. I don't care if you're a power in your conference. You've got to take care of the teams that you're supposed to take care of.
Well, going to Super Bowls and being power of the conference is more important than
it is,
a
but
head-to-head
Bull,
record with
ultimately,
yeah.
when you're playing against one of the teams in your division that historically is the doormat.
Right.
I mean, Jason's stat is still swirling in my head.
I know.
Yeah.
That they haven't finished ahead of their rival since 1989 is one of the more indicting stats that we can go on for a lifetime.
Never happened
got a
in
whole
Mike's
book of those.
lifetime. It's never happened in Anthony's lifetime.
That's crazy to me.
And I don't even remember it happening.
However, even though this won't anoint the Browns as being better than the Bengals, what it will do is further drive home the narrative that Cincinnati's got a problem if they can't get past one of the doormats of the division. And I know that you're playing for Super Bowls and you're one of the powers, but you in the NFL, you look at the schedule when it comes out and you circle games that you think you should win. And this is a game that the Bengals on the schedule, they've circled it. You can tell by his comments.
Yep.
They're Cleveland. And then he said, I'm tired of hearing all this talk about Cleveland. But then in the follow question, his answer was, I don't really hear it.
Oh, you
Well, that's a lie. You do hear it.
Whatever a player says, they don't hear it. They don't listen.
Right. Well,
we know they always
he confirmed that he heard it 20 seconds after he said, I don't really hear it. You just talked about, I'm sick of hearing Cleveland.
They're
Cleveland,
frustrated about hearing about it, which in some degree is fair because the Bengals beat them the last time they played. So the Bengals won the last matchup.
But you're absolutely right. And by the way, they beat them when the Browns had their best quarterback.
Guy. You know why every year is so hard? Every year, this is why the NFL is so hard and people retire. Because don't nobody care about what you did last year. Last year you could be a Pro Bowler. This year you can get cut.
Right.
Well, look at the Chiefs.
Well, nobody's done anything this year.
No, nobody. So
the Lions have.
Well, I'm saying, but nobody.
Right.
Bengals, Browns.
But you know what? Your reputation. You're right, G. Your reputation in this league used to be year to year.
It's play to play.
Now it's almost week to week.
Play to play.
That's crazy.
It is crazy, but we're in an instant gratification
year to year,
society, and you're right.
Well, that's why Deshaun Watson's kind of off the radar right now.
Sure,
he's done anything for 2 years.
Right, and you know what? He should understand why he's off the
Yes.
radar. In fact, he should embrace that he's off the radar.
That's true.
I didn't love that he came back and said, I can be even better. I didn't love that. Think that privately. Tell your guys that privately. But don't put the unnecessary bullseye on your back by saying it.
He also did say, he said, you guys, you compared to some of these guys, they got you ranked 22nd. He said, well, look, I ain't played in 2 years. I'm not supposed to be on none of the list. At the end of the day, the great thing about this game is year to year, you 0-0. If look, you can have all the money in the world, but if you die tomorrow, I got more money than you. That's the sense. That's the fierce urgency of right now. It don't matter if you're a billionaire. You
but if you both die tomorrow, we both have the same thing.
Zero.
$0 and 0 cents.
And now the Steelers is good.
I mean, that seems to be a rite of passage.
The Ravens will be good there, right?
Yeah.
Every other year.
All right. So I think at the end of the day, the comments are the Browns heard them. They've already made their way to the Browns locker room. You can you can bet. And the first thing out of the Browns' mouths at 4:15 Sunday, if they win, will be a callback to Jamar Chase.
Yep. Which is funny because if they lose, we didn't hear it. Whenever there's trash talk of this nature, and it's trash talk and it's stupid, and I don't like it. Whenever the other team wins, it's like, oh, that was motivating. But if they lose, it doesn't get brought up.
Right.
No, of course not.
It's silly.
That's why it's you're damned if you do.
Yeah.
Just keep your mouth shut.
It's not smart.
But you say you hate it. I do hate it as a fan. Obviously, for our job, I love it.
I love it.
And when I'm watching the game, it will add an extra layer of spice.
Oh, absolutely.
When we see Denzel locked up with Chase for the first time, there's going to be a little extra oomph there. Mikey.
We asked the YouTube community tab, and whenever we ask the YouTube community tab a question, it's brought to us by PCC Airfoils. If you're looking for a job with career advancement and great benefits, well, PCC Airfoils is a leading manufacturer in Northeast Ohio. All locations of PCC Airfoils in Eastlake, Menor, Wickliffe, and Minerva are hiring for all positions starting at $18 and up, plus full benefit packages, paid time off, and a signing bonus. You can apply online at precast.com/careers to learn more. We asked the community tab how they took Jamar Chase's comments. And unlike the YouTube poll, when we put it on the community tab, much bigger audience. That's the 26,000 people have a chance to vote on it. This had 4,500 votes since this morning. So this is a big sample size.
Right.
Mind you, it's Cleveland fans, but
sure.
Big sample size. So 4,500 votes. How did you take Jamar Chase's comments? I asked, as disrespect or no big deal, just part of the game? 77% said it's disrespectful, screw him. 23% said no big deal, just part of the game.
Surprised it's that low.
Yeah.
I am. I thought it would be higher.
Yeah, I thought it would be like 99%.
I thought it would be in the 90s, yeah. I'm with you, Bull. I
Yeah.
thought that, because it was disrespectful. Look.
It obviously was disrespectful.
Is he trying to hype himself up?
You know what? I think you were right the first time. He's trying to convince himself that he's Cincinnati and they're Cleveland. That's what he's trying to do. Because if he looks at the scores of the last 6 games, he might not think that.
We'll find out Sunday. That's why this game's going to be so fun. It is time, though, it's not really a game, but we're going to hand out some awards, some superlatives for the Browns for this upcoming season, and not your traditional who's the MVP, who's the best player, best defensive player. I want some kind of off-the-radar topics and some things we necessarily haven't talked about. So I came up with 8 different awards that we're going to hand out. All 4 of your answers are on one graphic. You guys can go around. I'll tell you the topic, and you can explain why you chose each player for each topic. So the first superlative we're giving out today is the guy we aren't talking enough about for the upcoming season, and 4 different answers came from you 4 fine gentlemen.
Should we start in that order? Should I start first?
Sure, yeah, you want to start.
I love what you said earlier. Nick Chubb's not regular, or you quoted Leroy.
Yeah, he's not regular.
We have grown to take Nick Chubb for granted and his greatness. And what I'm hearing from fans and media about the offense doesn't even involve Nick Chubb.
Yeah.
It involves this new look offense and this Elijah Moore cat who is supposed to be great. I mean, this is a prove-it league. This is a grown man league. I got to see it before I'm buying it. And I haven't seen it. I know there's a lot of potential there. Potential, as Warren Sapp used to say, is another word for failure. Because potential at some point has to come performance. I haven't seen that from him yet, but I'm told he's going to change my world. That's a lot of big words. But it's funny to me. We have one proven commodity on this offense not named Joel Bitonio. And his name is Nick Chubb. But he's forgotten. He just doesn't get the respect he deserves nationally. I think locally he's overlooked. He's admired and appreciated and loved. But when you hear people talk about what we have to do to win, it all revolves around Deshaun Watson. All of it.
Yeah, as good as Chubb is, you could always talk about him more. There's never enough. But I disagree with you that he's forgotten. We've talked about him a lot here.
This. They're going to be more pass run heavy this year than they were last year.
Yeah.
Why are you running away from your strength?
Well, because you have a better passing game. So
we do?
Well, you should have.
Theoretically.
I haven't seen it yet. That's what I'm saying.
But you win by passing in the NFL.
Absolutely, but
I think nationally Nick Chubb gets a ton of respect. I think a lot of people consider him the best running back.
I just think he's under talked about. I do.
The guy I think he's under talking about is Jedrick Wills. I just think
for a different reason.
He's below average to average. For a top 10 pick, we'll see. What they do, but I actually think he's the key to whether or not the Browns low key will be good. You're going against guys that have speed rushers that do their thing. I think Jed Wills needs, and if he just had his effort, I don't mind if you get beat, but just have the effort every single play through the whistle. Those are the plays that make him look worse than what actually he really is. Here's the thing, I like DeJuan Jones. They've been working him at a lot of different places. They got some guys to back him up, but I think this guy is really a key to whether or not the passing game looks right, and if they're going to be able to run the ball consistently like they did in 2020 with Chubb. So I think we should be talking about that a little bit more.
This is really funny, and you'll see why when we get to the next one. I picked Jerome Ford as the guy we're not talking much about, and it's kind of an off-the-radar pick. But I think Jerome Ford's going to be really good, and I know going back to Jay's point, we haven't seen it. We haven't seen out of Deshaun. We haven't seen out of Jerome Ford. Bubba Ventrone was talking yesterday about he likes to show on Fridays highlight reels from guys' high school seasons, and he said he's showing Jerome today, and he said it's the best high school film he's ever seen.
That's crazy.
And I understand, that's high school. It's a few years ago. I just think that there's a role for Jerome Ford in this offense. I know he missed some time in the preseason, and we've been talking at length. Do they need to bring in somebody else? Do they need more help? Can you really count on this guy? Between the return game on kick returns, and we've talked before on the show about there are a lot of touches in this offense for guys not named Nick Chubb in the backfield. And I think Jerome Ford's going to get those. And we really haven't spent a lot of time talking about him this preseason. I think he's going to hold a much bigger role in this offense. And I know it's
he's
funny.
He's essentially the Kareem Hunt now.
Yeah, he is.
He's been hurt, though. That's part of the reason we haven't talked about it much.
Right.
Yeah.
But, we could talk about David Njoku is going to be a big part of this offense. Elijah Moore is going to be a big part of this. There's only so many guys that can be a big part of this offense.
Yeah.
And I know I'm picking a backup running back, so what are we really talking about here? But we've studied and analyzed and overanalyzed so many guys on this. I just think he's one of the guys that's flown under the radar that might surprise you and have a bigger role than you think.
So Jason thinks they are going to run the football more this year.
I also said return game. I think he's a better returner.
Yeah,
I think he's a pretty good kick returner,
I liked him in the
too.
return game last year. I really did.
So I think he's going to have a role on this team.
And, Bo, you had Delpit. Real quick, wrap us up.
Yeah, I went with Delpit because I thought about who's the best player on the Browns that we never talk about. And everybody better than Delpit, and there's a decent amount of guys better than him, we talk about a lot. We never talk about Delpit. There's been a lot of talk about Thornhill.
Yeah.
I thought the second half, remember, Delpit was a high draft pick, and he had injuries and ineffectiveness. Second half of last year, he put it all together. And I'm expecting him to have a big season, and especially if Thornhill is hurt, can't play, he's going to be even more important. So I feel like we never talk about him at all. And I think he's a pretty good player, and I think he's a guy we all expected to be good. It finally happened last year, second half. I'm expecting a full
the
good season
injuries
for
have
him.
kind of kept him out of our conversations,
no doubt.
too.
Yes, but
so
he's healthy
we
right
need
now.
him to stay healthy.
100% healthy right now.
He was awful early in the year. That's why I don't believe in him yet because I need to see it for a whole year. Maybe it was the wrong scheme, whatever. He was terrible.
Yeah, I think there were a lot of guys that looked awful last year, and I think it had a lot to do with the guy that was drawing up the X's and O's.
Could have.
All right, Mike, next.
All right, next one. I'm going to let Jason start because he's the only person who went off the beaten path here. The next superlatives, the guy we're talking too much about. 3 guys picked Elijah Moore, and Jason, you went with Jed Wills.
Jedrick Wills. So G didn't think we're talking about him enough. I think we're talking about him too much in a negative light. And now I'm going to die on the Jed Wills hill, which I never intended.
That's a bad hill to die on.
I never intended to climb this hill, but I think we make too big of a deal about him, and I don't think he's as bad as what he gets talked about. Now, having said that,
is it because of where he was drafted?
Probably,
yeah.
And that's not his fault.
And who he followed.
And who he followed.
Although I still don't think he's very good, but those things factor in.
And I have to say, my favorite part of practice is watching Jed Wills stretch. It's pitiful. And Zach Jackson's play-by-play of watching Jed Wills stretch is worth the price of admission. It's hilarious. He can take getting his wrist taped, make that 12 minutes so he doesn't have to stretch. He runs out on the field and sits down on the bench. There are things that he does that are infuriating. And I get why sometimes he gets some of the criticism that he does. I just don't think he's as bad as we've made him out to be. I think he's average. I think he's an average left tackle. You can win with an average left tackle. Do you want elite? Of course you want elite.
The Browns clearly agree with that.
Yeah, you can't have a turnstile there.
I agree with G. I think you're wrong. I think he's below average. I don't think he's horrible, but I think he's below average. The PFF grades every year, he's been 1 year he's been average. The other 3 he's been below average.
I think
and what else can you just use when it comes to an offensive lineman besides the PFF
he's
grade?
not, because he's not getting the quarterback killed. That's what I look at. Are you getting the guy killed? He's not. I don't think he's elite by any means. But I think he's serviceable
mid.
and average.
But
he's
and
mid.
when you're drafted in the first round and you come with the hype that he had
At
and you
100%.
follow Joe
At a
Thomas,
premium
mid
position.
just never
more.
shines enough.
You expect, but I'll tell you what, if he goes down, what are you going to do?
Well, I know what I'm going to do.
You're probably going to
DeJuan
Jones.
Jones.
Yeah, big fella's going to get moved to left tackle.
But but again,
by the way, Steve Becker is right. We all failed this assignment.
He is.
DTR should have been the choice.
I had DeJuan Jones at first as the guy being talked about too much, sort of in that category.
Dorian Thompson-Robinson.
Of course, you talk about the backup quarterback in the preseason,
and that's why I didn't go there.
He got talked about,
but it's
way
the
too much.
But it's the
it's
preseason.
why we talked about Amani freaking Bates for 3 weeks.
Right. It's totally different.
Yeah.
Here's the thing with the DTR talk, and I know
what else are we judging it on?
But Bull, when you went into this year's camp was much different for the Browns than any other year that I can remember. It's because you were really talking about 5 or 6 roster spots. You weren't talking about any starting jobs. That hasn't happened for Cleveland in a long time. So now what are you going to focus on in training camp? The second most important job.
The question was who got the most talked about.
Yeah, but I took it as,
I get that, but
in terms of guys who are actually going to play and contribute on the field.
all right.
Yeah,
Fair
I mean,
enough.
but it's preseason, and there's a different yardstick in the preseason.
Right.
A lot of years we're measuring starting positions.
Yeah.
Many other years we're measuring guys that are making the team.
Yeah.
This year the big talk was who the hell's going to be our backup quarterback, and he played well. He got a lot of talk. We're not going to mention his name if and when until Deshaun gets hurt.
Right.
He is persona non grata now.
Tyvis, right as usual, saying I picked the right player with Delpit. He says I'm winning the show so far.
No, he did not say that.
He said it.
He did not say that.
Wait, no, he did. He did say that.
Yeah,
He said Delp was our pick. You guys all
Delpit.
picked Elijah Moore as the guy, so we'll move on
Yeah,
to
I
the
mean,
next one here.
but we're obviously right. I mean, the 3 of us are obviously right with Elijah Moore.
Yeah, he has gotten a lot of hype. Of the guys
He's got a lot of hype.
Of the guys that are going to.
I hear you've been mid.
Of the guys who are going to contribute, he's been the most over-talked player, without a doubt. Yes.
I mean, the next superlative had 4 different answers, so we're going to move on here. This is the player who scares you the most for the upcoming season. And, Bull, I'll let you start. We'll go around the horn. 4 different answers. Bull, you went with the unnamed kicker, a.k.a. Dustin Hopkins.
I mean, how could it not be the kicker?
No.
I mean, to me, this was a no-brainer. You got, on offense, who am I most worried about? Okay, I'm a little worried about Jedrick Wills. Can Njoku play even better? Obviously Watson, but I'm assuming he's going to at least be good, most likely, because I've seen him be good most of his career. On defense, there's some questions at linebacker, but if one of the linebackers is not great, all right, they'll survive. A bad kicker could cost him the season, I think, more than anything else, outside of Watson just not being good.
Right.
So, and I have no faith in this kicker. He can't make long kicks. They put all their eggs in the basket on Cade York. Now he's a practice squad in Tennessee. So they have not solved a key problem. And you look at this division, Justin Tucker's the best kicker in football. Evan McPherson and Boswell are both top 5 kickers in the league. That's a major advantage that the other teams have over the Browns.
And it's not an easy division to kick in. There
Right.
are no domes.
Right.
They're, for the most part, cold weather cities.
Yeah.
So from the last 8 games of the season,
Yeah.
can very well be played on an ice sheet.
That's right.
I agree with what you said, but I can't take the kicker because they could just cut him Monday. If he has a bad game Sunday, they're going to cut him Monday and move on to the next
That's why I
guy.
just put kicker, not necessarily Hopkins. Who they have
I
right
picked
now.
Denzel Ward because of the injury concerns, the contract, and the head injuries. It's kind of scares the hell out of me. With the money that they're paying this guy, he misses 3 to 4 games every year. Mark it down. He's going to miss 3 to 4 games. And now with this 4th concussion, we've talked about it before, I have very serious concerns about his longevity, both and for long-term health for his own good. After football, for life after football. So I'm very concerned about Denzel Ward. I think he's going to play Sunday. I think, we've moved past this one, but we're at 4. I don't want that meter to keep running. So in terms of his ability on the field, no, I have no fear about who he is. But for cap reasons and for everything else, I'm concerned about Denzel Ward.
Man, easy for me. Taki. You look at it with his injury last year. I've torn the ACL later in the year playing football. Like, when it gets to be October, November. I tore mine a little later, December 13th. And, yeah, you're good. You tear that first ACL, you always worry about it, Jay, you worry about the other ACL. Or you
worry about the same ACL.
You worry about the same one. And when you talk about being a linebacker getting downhill, are you going to trust your leg when you explode left to right? Taki is also a good guy on special teams. I thought he was a guy that plays the middle linebacker position very well in your nickel packages. So, they're going to bring him along a little slower. But, just for me knowing his injury history, him and Anthony Walker being guys that have not played in contact, have not really done anything since they've been injured. Obviously, they get out there. I know they know the playbook, but I'm not sure I'm comfortable with them moving around with these knee injuries that quick.
All good points. I mentioned Taki for one of our later superlatives, but you're all obviously wrong, and here's why. All 22, let's call 24, put the punter and kicker in there, are holding a basket. And you have 100 eggs. And you can hand out the eggs as to how you think, what their importance is for the season. So, Taki, you're going to get 4 eggs. I'm going to need you to be available and healthy. And kicker, whoever you are, whatever number you wear, you're going to get 8 because you got to make kicks. You miss kicks, you're going to lose games. And Denzel Ward, absolutely, pivotal player on the defense. You're going to get some eggs too. But the guy that's getting the most eggs in his basket is easily the quarterback, Deshaun Watson. This season hinges on number 4. And you made a point. You said, we've seen him be good before. And everybody wants to pretend like the last 6 games last year never happened.
I don't think that's pretending it didn't happen.
No, but what you said was, we know that he's been good before.
Yeah.
But we talked about how this is a week-to-week league. We're going back 3 years to his.
Yeah, I hear you.
So I can't go back 3 years. I'm going to say the same thing I said about Elijah Moore. I hear you're really good. I hear you're tearing up practice. But we talking about practice, to quote Allen Iverson. I need to see it. And I hope to God I see it, because all of my eggs are in number 4's basket. If those eggs crack, our season is over. If Denzel Ward gets hurt, next man up. It's a loss, but next man up. If the kicker misses, you're right. We cut him, we get a new one. It's a loss, but we're okay. Taki, it's the position that the Browns have deemed the least important on the roster. Somebody will take his place. Maybe it will be Bull. But at quarterback, that's what scares me the most. Yeah. And I think I've convinced you guys, and now you can admit that I was right.
I mean, we can say Deshaun Watson for everyone, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
He's the X factor.
Someone voted Deshaun Watson for 6 of the 8 answers, so yes, he does fit.
Someone, really?
It's 6 of the 8 Deshaun Watson.
Right.
It wasn't me.
Mikey wants to move on, and
No, not like one person, but I mean
at least one of us.
At least one of us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, look, that's what it is.
Jay, 20 seconds or less. If Deshaun was suspended for all of last year, and Sunday would be your first look.
I'd feel better about it.
I
would feel better about it.
100%.
Because I can't wash the taste out of my mouth of the New Orleans.
Those are preseason games.
So I just, and look, I'm still going to give them some slack. It was a different offense because they had built this thing to run around Jacoby Brissett's motor. Hey, so it was different. But I still saw what I saw, and I can't bulk erase it from my mind.
That's the key question. How much, that's the talking point, how much slack are you giving him till you need to see
You could say you're going to give him slack. If he plays poorly against the Bengals, it's going to be packed.
Yeah. And then those last 6 games become much more meaningful. Right now, I'm willing to write those off as a bad experience.
Right, and that's what we will do if he plays well
If he plays well, it's all is forgotten, and 2020, Deshaun Watson
Mike,
is back.
I told him 20 seconds. I'm sorry.
I know.
I told him 20 seconds.
Go ahead.
Next up,
Don't
we
tell
have
me
3 of the
20.
same answers for the next one. So, G, you're the only one who's going to speak on this superlative. The most fun guy on the Browns to root for. You 3, outside of G, all said Nick Chubb.
Wow.
But, G, you said Marquise Goodwin. Explain that real quick.
Easy, bro. He could have been done. He could have been out of here. We was putting him on bubble wrap. Career was over. We saw what happened to guys like Chris Bosh. That's a serious injury, and I think everybody was giving him the thoughts and prayers. You out of here. It's like no lie. You know what I'm saying? You go see you see your dude. You be like, man, G. Bush looking sick. You know what I'm saying? We giving him thoughts and prayers. He might be up out of here. You give him that pat on the shoulder, you get that 2-pat, you gone.
Yeah.
So I thought that was, but he comes back, he practicing, he got a new lease on life, he changed his number. The dude, you root for him just by hearing his story about his sister.
And he's a great dude.
Yep. Came on the show. I'm super rooting for him. Rooting for him.
You know what? I'm going to change my pick. You convinced me.
Yeah.
Because I love Nick Chubb, but you're right. Marquise Goodwin.
He's got the best story.
And he's just such a good human being, like Nick Chubb.
And he's a fan of UCSS, which makes us like
right.
him even more. Okay, next category, next superlative. Which player on the Browns is most likely to make you change your opinion of him this year? Either good to bad or bad to good. 3 different answers. 2 of you guys doubled up. Steve, you could take it. And G, you said JOK.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wait, listen, shout out to DQ. Listen, I'll give you credit. If DeQuell Jackson, you don't say your spirit is alive and well, I can see you be turning around like Dr. Claude, like yesterday, with the beard on and getting your bottle. But if you got him together in spring training or OTAs, I'll give it to you. I've liked what I've seen from JLK so far. Much more decisive, much more downhill. He's hitting the gaps. He's shooting. If they can do that, JLK can go from a guy we laughed about last year to, oh my goodness, this
I
is
haven't
the
seen
guy
anything from JLK because the preseason doesn't count. I'm going with David. I'm going with David Njoku. Now, I think Jason's probably right and I've thought this way. Njoku probably is what he is. He's a mid tight end, and he's just. But
he's above mid.
I'm going to all right, slightly above mid.
Yeah.
Top 12.
I'm going to give him one more chance because this is the first time in his career, I believe, that he's going to play with a quarterback that I think is going to be really
1,100 yards you got him for?
No, I do not have him for 1,100 yards. But I think he could get 800. I think it's possible to get 8 touchdowns, 9 touchdowns. That would be a monster year. If he had 837 yards and 9 touchdowns.
Compared to what we've seen, it's not Travis Kelce, but he's never going to be Travis Kelce.
We'd all sign for that.
No. Yeah, of course we would.
So I think he could do that. And obviously you guys
good.
got Watson.
Ours speaks for itself. Deshaun Watson, you know, my pendulum could swing very, very far on Deshaun Watson.
You going to get a jersey?
And we're going to talk pendulum
Sure, hell yeah.
Some of these questions were kind of similar.
I don't wear jerseys.
Grown men don't wear jerseys.
No,
other
men.
We have Mary Kay waiting in the wings, so we're going to fly through these last 3 real quick.
Yep,
very quickly so we get to Mary Kay. The guy most likely to be traded mid-season, G and Bull both said DPJ. Jay, you said Njoku.
Yeah. We've talked about him, what expectations are for him. We know that the importance of the tight end position is big.
I forgot about him.
He looks like Tarzan. I'm not going to say he plays like Jane. He looks like Tarzan, but he has never played like Tarzan. And I think that even if the Browns come to the conclusion that he's never going to be Tarzan, there's always going to be somebody that looks at this guy physically and watches him walk into a room, whether it's in street clothes, no shirt, or a full uniform, and they're going to say, wow, this guy could be the greatest tight end ever.
If Jay is right about this, it's a disaster. It means the Browns are having a terrible season and everything's gone off the wheels. If we're right about
another tight end steps up.
Well, but who the hell's going to they don't have
Well, they have Harrison Bryant.
Somebody wants to trade him on the
slap.
That's who Jason said.
That's who I say. I think that they have enough depth at tight end that if you can.
What are you going to get it for Harrison Bryant?
Well, if he can't get on the field, because the guy's in front of him.
Nobody's going to trade anything for him.
But it's a position of need. Like, it's hard to find good tight ends. And you're going to get more for Harrison Bryant. You're at DPJ.
No, you
will.
Some.
Harrison
Bryant's never done anything.
What are you going to get for DPJ? A 5th?
Right, maybe.
Okay.
And DPJ's a guy who could be traded, even if they're good, because maybe Cedric Tillman starts making inroads. They're like, he's going to be gone. A team's looking for a receiver. Maybe we could trade him for a fringe linebacker.
You need more receivers on the field.
All right, what else? What's next?
We're going to skip the pendulum guy because we've already talked about all 4 guys on there.
Question.
And we're going to go to my favorite one. This was a G. Bush submission. Guys you simp for this year. The guy who you, regardless of how they perform on the field, just root for.
I hate that
You have a soft spot in your heart for. Jay, you went with Denzel. Everyone, you got 10 seconds each. Tell us why, and then we'll bring in Mary Kay.
Yeah, I love Denzel. I need him to be the Denzel that we saw a couple of years ago, not the one we saw last year. I don't know what was going on with him last year. I don't know if it was personal off the field. He just did not play like Denzel Ward. I'm rooting hard for him to return to the number 21 that got that $100 million contract.
Man, I've been looking for a soulmate to go besides Myles Garrett for years, and I think I finally found it. Zadarius Smith, man, you're fun. You got the dreads. You look the part. I like with the energy level, and I need 13 sacks. I'm on record saying 13, and that's like a high figure. But I'm simping for him because I love the Browns' defensive line. I'm a defensive lineman.
Jason,
First of all, I don't sit for no one.
nobody.
Good point.
And he don't wear
Creepy
jerseys.
question.
I
No
don't
jerseys
simp
and
for no
simping.
one. So I should have just left this one blank. But I do like Wyatt Teller a lot.
Also, you're shipping for Wyatt Teller.
I had to pick somebody. I had to pick somebody.
Jason Lloyd of the Athletics says he's
Terrible
simping.
No. I like Wyatt. I think he was really hurt last year. I think he was hurt more than people realized. He was playing through a lot of stuff. Didn't have a great year. He's healthy now. I think he's going to have a big year.
You guys all embarrassed yourselves with this answer. The best player to play for the Browns since '99, not named Joe Thomas, is Nicholas Jamal
Well,
Chubb.
we could pick
Right.
And
Nick
that's the
Chubb
end
and
of the
Deshaun
conversation.
Watson for every answer.
Nick
Like,
Chubb
I'm trying to be creative and mix it up here.
Is the best running back the Browns have had since Jim Brown. He's going if he stays healthy and does it for a few more years. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
He does everything right. He's always about the team. He never causes controversy. He never gets in trouble. He never parties. He never does anything. He stays at his house and plays football, and that's all he does. He is the freaking man.
And you forgot about Tommy Vardell.
All
Touchdown.
right, it's close between those two.
Okay.
Touchdown, Tommy.
Well, that was fun, guys. We appreciate it. We'll go back and revisit this at the end of the season. Before we bring in Mary Kay, I need to remind you guys that if you don't have a pair of Bird Dogs already, make sure you head over to birddogs.com, get you a pair of the most comfortable shorts, joggers, sweatpants, any kind of athletic or casual wear you need. Bird Dogs, the official sponsor of today's episode of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. And joining us now from outside the practice facility of Cleveland Browns is the Hall of Famer. It is Mary Kay Cabot of Cleveland.com.
Mary
Mary
Kay,
Kay.
happy game week.
Hey guys, how you doing? Good to see ya.
We're great. We've been talking about so many different issues. Let's start with the injuries because obviously Denzel Ward with the concussion protocol, and we're worried about that. We all kind of think that he's going to go. Juan Thornhill also on that list. What, can you add anything to about those two guys for Sunday?
Well, first of all, Zach Taylor just said Joe Burrow's starting. Now, that's not a big surprise because we expected him to start. So, Joe said himself on Wednesday or Thursday that he was ready to go and he was going to play. But as far as Juan Thornhill and Denzel Ward, was just out at practice. Juan Thornhill was not practicing for the second straight day. It sort of flew under the radar yesterday. It seems like everyone kind of missed this. I put a headline on it. I thought it was significant. And I still think it's significant. Today was his second straight day out of practice. And, he is one of the starting safeties and really good at what he does. And you do not want to play this game without him when you're going against Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd. So hopefully for the Browns, he'll be back. He brings so much. He brings energy in the back end. He brings, the ability to take the football away, to get some interceptions. So we'll have to see what goes on with that. Denzel Ward, he was out there practicing again. I don't know if he's going to be cleared from the concussion protocol in time to play in this game, but he certainly has been practicing on a limited basis at least, and I'm sure they'll do everything they can to try to get him out there.
Mary Kay, what are the have you spoken to the players yet today already?
No, we're going to be, we've got Kevin coming up at about 12:50, and then we get the players right after that.
What do you expect the reaction to be to Jamar Chase's comments yesterday?
I think they'll be pretty low-key publicly about that, but you can bet that, as Greg Newsome said yesterday, he keeps the receipts on those kinds of things. So these guys are going to use that. You're looking for anything that you can get for motivation for a game. And for Jamar Chase to to say he thought about calling them the elves, them some fighting words. I mean, it's kind of playful and fun. I'm sure he wanted to do something to try to spice things up a bit. It's been a little bit of a quiet week. These guys will accept that challenge. The Browns will come out and they'll be disrespected by this. And, they will do whatever they can to get themselves up for this game.
Mary Kay, what do you make of the comments that Deshaun Watson says that he's tired of talking about, 2019 and 2020, and that he can be better than that. Before he kind of said, I shouldn't be mentioning those, ranks because I haven't played in 2 years. But it seems like he's gaining more and more confidence in what he's going to be able to do on the field as the days get closer to the game. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think he's been pretty consistent with what he's been saying. He told us last year a couple of times that he doesn't want to be the quarterback that he was in 2020. He wants to be better. So when he said that again this week, I didn't take that as news because I had heard it several times before. But in terms of feeling that he doesn't deserve to be up in those rankings, he's using that as fuel. He's using that as motivation. He likes it when he gets a little bit dissed like that because it helps him get his game face on. So I think once again, he's keeping the receipts and he's going to use these things to go out there and try to show that he is still an elite quarterback.
Mary Kay, we played a game earlier where who's your X factor on offense and who's your X factor on defense, and I'm just curious, how would you respond to that? Who's the X factor for this Browns offense this season? Or what, Mikey? Was it? I don't even know. Is it for Cincinnati or for the year?
No,
it was for Cincinnati.
Oh, for Cincinnati.
But they couldn't be Deshaun Watson or
It couldn't
Myles
be Deshaun
Garrett.
or Myles, and Jay and I can't read that part and both picked Myles apparently. But for this game, X factor offense, X factor defense.
That's a really good question. You know what? I am going to say Amari Cooper. I'm going to go with Amari Cooper because I think that Deshaun's going to try to hit him on some big plays. We saw them hit a 53-yarder together in the season, the preseason finale against the Chiefs, and they want more of that. These guys have looked really good in practice together. I'm sure that Elijah Moore is going to be a huge factor in this game, and I could have picked him as well. But for right now, I think I'm going to go with Amari Cooper.
Mary Kay, Jerome Ford, we know he's good to go. What do you expect his role to be, or any of the other running backs' role to be in this game? How much of a role will we see from those guys?
Well, I think Jerome Ford's role may have been a little bit more than what it could possibly be on Sunday, only from the standpoint that he missed most of training camp with a pulled hamstring, and he's just getting back into the swing of things. So, I don't know if he's 100% ready to go for the kind of duty that they wanted to give him. But, we'll have to see how that plays out. We've heard a lot of talk about Nick Chubb, that they're going to use him more on third down, that he's going to get more passes out of the backfield. And if he does, then you won't need Jerome Ford as much as you used Kareem Hunt in those roles. But I asked Alex Van Pelt about this yesterday, and he said that Jerome Ford is ready to step up into that third down back role and do whatever he's asked to do.
Mary Kay, we've heard so much talk about expectations for the Browns offense. I've heard folks closely connected to this team tell me that offense is going to be completely different. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be off the charts. We showed none of it in the preseason. To me, that just heightens my expectations. That, to me, sounds like we're going to see a Kansas City Chiefs or Buffalo Bills offense. What are your expectations for this offense, and how good can they be if everything gels and everything comes together? Can they be a Buffalo, a Kansas City, or a Cincinnati, or is that just way too big of a leap for right now?
No, I think they can be that. I did talk to Marquise Goodwin about that just yesterday, and he was saying, there is no limit on what we can accomplish. And from a talent standpoint, I agree with that, but it has to come together. It has to, you have to put it out on the grass. You have to do it against a defense. Everybody has to show that they can mesh well with Deshaun. He's got to get back to the level that he played at in Houston or better. And I think they have the opportunity and the ability to be a very explosive, high-octane offense. I mean, why not? They've got it all. They've got the quarterback. They've got the receivers. They've got the tight ends. They've got the offensive line. They've got the running back. I mean, they have every single thing that you need to be an excellent offense. I have a feeling that it's going to look pretty good.
Well, Mary Kay, one guy we have not heard of is Nick Chubb. We've heard of him actually, a lot in the past, but we have not heard from him in the preseason. Is he going to be a big part of what this offense is going to do moving forward, especially in this game?
Yeah, I think so. Whenever you have a talent like Nick Chubb who can run the ball the way that he can, and now he's going to add more catches out of the backfield, I think he'll be a big part of this game. They're going to be running a lot of different things. They're going to be running more RPOs, all kinds of different things that we necessarily haven't seen in the past. And I think he'll get his touches. I think he'll get his runs. I think he'll get some catches. And, when you have a weapon like Nick Chubb, you're going to use him.
Who do you think is going to be inactive in terms of the wide receivers, Mary Kay? Is Tillman definitely active on game day Sunday?
Yeah, I think he'll be active on game day on Sunday
Okay.
because he does give you that different element of that big body wideout that you would need. So, yeah, I think most of the receivers will be up and active. Some of them are going to be used, obviously, also on special teams. Donovan will be used as a punt returner in addition to catching passes on offense. So I think that most of the wide receivers on the roster will be up.
Mary Kay, we talked about this earlier in the show, and G and Jason went a little back and forth on it. Is this the most excited Browns fans have been for an opener, the most anticipated opener since they've came back to Cleveland?
I don't think so. I have felt this before. When Baker Mayfield, was first here, those were like really, really hyped up, exciting years. The year after they made the playoffs, everyone had such high expectations that year. So I can't honestly say that this is number one in terms of excitement.
I'm just saying I've never seen Browns fans this cocky heading into a season. I haven't in the years. You've been covering the team longer than me, Mary
You
Kay.
fell and hit your head because they're like this every
Yeah,
September.
I remember walking into the stadium on the home opener against the Titans.
Yep.
And
but the
I
Titans-
was walking on clouds. And when I left, I felt like I'd just been hit by a
But
bus
at
that I
least
never
you
saw
got
coming.
You got hit by Frederick Charles Kitchens.
That's exactly. He was the bus driver.
Is there a difference between excitement and cocky? Excitement
Yes.
is like, oh yeah, this is good.
Yes.
Cocky is like,
There
oh
is.
no, we here
And
to
that
play.
was against the Titans, who were a nothing team. You're playing one of the best teams in football.
Last year,
And
the defense told us they were going to be top 5, maybe number 1.
We had Jacoby Brissett playing quarterback. Nobody thought they were going to be that
The
good.
defense thought they were going to be
Well,
exceptional.
the defense going to think whatever they want. I mean, we all
Well,
picked them
we
to go
saw
8-9.
what they were.
All
They were
right,
not
Mom and
exceptional.
Dad, stop
Yeah,
fighting.
I
Mary
mean,
Kay,
I just-
I'm with you. 2019, they were lined up the night
Yep.
before to get in the Muni lot. They were lined up on the
Nuts.
streets and screaming Super Bowl and.
Now, all of that being said, I think what we did say at the start of the show, and Mary Kay, you can weigh in on this. I think this is the most important
No doubt.
Yes.
season
That I agree.
since the rebirth. Because even though there were expectations there, we were still relatively in the honeymoon stage. We're a different quarterback regime removed from that, and everybody in the organization put all their chips in the middle of the table on this quarterback. This is a massively important home opener. But I think there's been more excitement around home openers. Do you agree?
Yeah, I would say that that this is probably the most important because of all the money they spent on Deshaun Watson, of all the draft picks they spent on him, and this is his first full season. This is the beginning of the Deshaun Watson era, and this is supposed to be the quarterback that can take you to the Super Bowl. So in terms of it being most important and most money spent, most draft capital spent, I would say that there's the most pressure on this season than any other.
Yeah, and it's wild to think of this is his first first season opener in 3 years.
Yes. Dustin Hopkins.
Yeah, D-Hop.
I don't trust this guy at all, Mary Kay. I don't know why. I still don't understand why they haven't signed Robbie Gould. He's still a free agent. He's way better than Dustin Hopkins. Why have they done this, and will they correct it if he screws up kicks in the first couple of weeks?
Well, they're not going to tolerate someone who's missing kicks. So, this is what they felt was their best chance going into this game. I don't really know why they didn't sign Robbie Gould. We'll have to see. What we do know about Dustin Hopkins is that he's excellent from 49 yards and in, not so great from 50 plus, 15 out of 30 from that range. And so it does change your game plan, and it really does impact what you're going to do when it comes to making a really long game-winning kick or otherwise. So, so we'll just have to see how this works out. And again, he's only been here for a couple of weeks, so if he doesn't work out and they have to pivot, they'll do so.
I guess it doesn't matter now, but I'm just curious. Do you think that Cade's last miss against Kansas City cost him the job? Do you think that was the one that put it over the edge at the end of the game? If he makes that kick,
I would say maybe the whole game. I mean, missing the extra point the way that he did and just hitting the ball the way that he was doing that day, I think that was a huge factor, that he just was going in the wrong direction in terms of the way the ball was coming off of his foot. So that last one was the nail in the coffin, but there were other nails for sure.
tell the train to quiet down.
Yeah, the train passing through the parking lot.
Planes, trains, and automobiles.
So who you got winning, Mary Kay? You want to predict the game?
Yeah, I'm picking the Browns to win this game just because I think I made that pick last night before Joe Burrow went out and got his $275 million extension. He's going to be fired up. He's going to be in a great mood after all that. But I just feel like there's going to be something about this Browns defensive line that is going to try to make his life miserable. And the Browns seem to match up pretty well against the Bengals. So I am going with the Browns in this game, 31-28.
Wow, it's very close to what I have.
Thanks,
you,
Mary Kay.
We
appreciate it.
93 minutes in, it's the first mention of the contract extension.
Yeah, that's
Joe
true.
Burrow.
Thanks,
Mary Kay. Thanks. Great stuff as always.
Take care. Thanks, guys.
The market has spoken, and no quarterback has received more guaranteed money to date. 2 years plus removed.
Yeah,
from
I look at
Deshaun
it as
Watson
I know it's not guaranteed. I think too much is made of that because he's going to get that whole 275. There's no chance
unless he collapses.
The only
we're
way
talk about
he's
the
not
Burrow
going to get
contract at the very end, Bull. Save your thoughts.
Right.
We got headlines coming up first, and then we're going to do the contract.
You got to read.
Why can't we just do it since we started talking about it? We're not going to talk about it for 2 minutes, Mike.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a lot more to get into than 2 minutes.
All right,
of it.
fine.
And I got a fast read that has to cut you off. So if you guys haven't, make sure y'all check out Behind the Glass. Myself, Anthony, and Adam the Bull. The Bull himself joined us on Behind the Glass
it was on yesterday.
Answered some fan questions, including what was coming up in the TV carousel for himself. Check it out every week. Myself, Anthony Earl. A little extra content for you guys as we continue to provide the most coverage in the city of your Cleveland Browns. We will talk Burrow's contract, Watson's contract, how they're perceived, how the media will cover both shortly. But first, Mary Kay gave her pick. It is time to give ours. Bull, would you like to reveal your headline, your first headline of the season?
Yeah.
For the
Put it up there.
UCSS
Let's go
Times.
see how the graphic looks. We got Chubb. Football is back. Deshaun Watson plays well, but Chubb's late score leads to win. The Bengals, Joe Burrow's not going to be at his best. There's no doubt about it. He hasn't played at all.
Right.
He's coming off an injury, and I think he's fine. But the Bengals, the last 2 years, Joe Burrow's been hurt. For whatever reason, he hasn't played. I don't think he's played a preseason game. I think we were talking about this the other day. First year, it was COVID, so no preseason. Second year, he was coming off the torn knee. Last year, he had the emergency appendectomy, and this year he had the calf strain. Now, this is not a serious
coincidence.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
Or not.
So bizarre. So I don't expect him to be at the best. The Bengals have, even these 2 years when they've gone to the Super Bowl and the AFC Championship game, have gotten off to so-so starts. And they've lost their two openers. The Browns have, the Bengals have never, or Zach Taylor's never won in Cleveland. I think the Browns owning the Bengals is a little overstated because it's really, to me, only 3 games that matter the last 2 years, and the Browns are 2-1 in them. But there's still something to that. And so but I think it's going to be a lower scoring game. I think both offenses will struggle. I think both defenses are not getting enough hype. I think both defenses are really good. In the end, the Bengals will settle for field goals a couple of times, and that will be the difference in the game. The Browns will pull out a 21-20 win.
It's funny you said that. It's like baseball. Pitching is ahead of hitting early in the season.
Yeah.
And I think in the NFL, I think defense is ahead of the offense. We saw that last
night.
I thought we could have a pinball machine. And there for a second, it looked like we were going to. But the defense has stood up and won the day. And it's interesting that you think that'll happen on Sunday as well.
Actually, I picked that score before the game last night, and that was the same score last night. It was 21-20, but I got the same type of score.
All right.
I didn't pick a score because I'm a coward.
Put your money where your mouth is.
But I did have a headline. The Schwartz makes Browns defense better. This was actually supposed to be originally a play on Anthony Schwartz, and then trying to also tie in the Schwartz be with you, and Anthony helped me out there.
I didn't realize for a second that was Burrow and that was Schwartz. I was like, who are those people?
Yeah, the Schwartz makes Browns defense better. Bull, kind of to what you just said, I don't think Joe Burrow's going to be that sharp because he's missed the last month. You know, how much has he actually practiced? How much reps has he actually taken? So for that reason, I do think the defense is going to be better this year. I think they're going to force a couple of turnovers, whether it be fumbles on the ground, picks. We know Greg Newsome ain't going to get one of them, but maybe somebody else will.
It's not his thing.
But if it's not his thing. Yeah. But they can force a couple of turnovers. I like the Browns to win this game. I didn't pick a score because I'm a coward.
G. Bush, you're up next.
That was another good. I didn't pick a score. I'm a coward. Where you getting this stuff from? I don't like that. Watson delivers the fireworks. Burrow limps out of Cleveland with the L. The fireworks is coming. Now, I think the biggest point is Joe Burrow running around, moving around. Big part of Joe Burrow's game is his mobility. He's an underrated scrambler. He has underrated mobility. He gets out of danger a lot. He scrambles. He can step up in the pocket. He dips and dives. He throws the ball. And they got receivers that can play the scramble drill. Those guys are in complete sync. However, I think we haven't talked about a guy all day, and that's because Mikey said don't mention him because he's that good, Myles Garrett. He's done what he's supposed to do, nine sacks. I think this guy comes out here, and I've been on record saying he gets 3. Myles Garrett gets 3 sacks.
Wow.
In this game, I think Joe Burrow limps around, and I think Deshaun Watson doesn't quite throw for 3. He throws for about 289, very efficient, 3 touchdowns. Cleveland Browns win this game, and they put, guess what? 28 points on the board. I got him winning 28-17 over Joe Burrow.
When you said guess what, I thought you would have said like 50 or something.
No.
Wow, 28-17.
28-17.
10 points in this league.
That's
big win.
that's
like
a
a blowout.
touch. Yeah, that's.
What was the Halloween score last year? I mean, that was complete domination. Yeah. I just kept expecting with every next possession, this is where the tide's going to turn.
Coming.
And that was what they were.
And the Bengals didn't lose again to the AFC Championship game after that,
yeah.
which is wild.
That's
how badly they played that game.
32-13.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yeah,
You're talking about a 19-point
show.
Bengals dressed up like the Browns for Halloween.
Yeah. My pre-written headline, I'm nervous now because we all 4 have the Browns, the underdog, winning.
Yeah.
And make that 5-5 when I read mine.
Well, yeah.
Yikes.
I mean, look, we're homers. We're drinking the Kool-Aid.
And Mary Kay did, and Ben Baby, who covers the Bengals, also picked.
Well,
the
I'm not a
Browns
homer.
yesterday.
Ben went with the Browns. That's interesting. No, you're right.
not a
You're
homer.
not. But I mean, it's a Cleveland show.
Yeah.
It's
But
hard
if
to pick against Cleveland.
I mean, listen, I think we all know this game's a toss-up. It could go either way.
It could go either way.
Yeah.
I think they're going to do it with defense. I'm totally with you guys.
Yeah.
It's very difficult for a quarterback to just come out of mothballs.
Yeah.
Hasn't taken a meaningful snap.
Yeah, we saw that last year.
9 months. We know that movie. And Joe's going to make some plays, to be sure. His wide receivers are going to make some catches. But they're not going to be the in-sync rhythm offense that they'll be in November. And so I think as much as I hated this game when the schedule came out, I love it now because they're getting a Joe Burrow that's just out of bubble wrap.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be the difference in this game. I do think, now you have Myles, if he gets 3, he's on pace to have 51 sacks. Just saying,
which would more than double the all-time record.
That's
all right, if he gets that.
So that's a big goal, but I think he's going to get after him.
If he gets that, there you go.
Yeah, I'm ready if he does.
If he does get
the purple's the one that kills you.
It happens to be my favorite.
Killed Jamarcus Russell.
But
It's funny. So we asked the headlines, and a lot of times they're very different. This time we asked you 4, and G went with offense. The other 3 of you guys, well, no, you went Chubb. Excuse me. So 2
I went with
offense, 2 defense. Mine plays right in line with what you said, Jay. How about Joey Burrowed by the Browns? Browns sack NFL's highest paid player 5 times. I actually think he's going to get 3 sacks too, G. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid with you. Myles Garrett's campaign for Defensive Player of the Year starts on Sunday.
There we go.
I'm going to just say these numbers one more time. In 5 career games against Joe Burrow, he has 9 sacks and 30 pressures. 9 sacks and 30 pressures. That is 6 pressures and 1.8 sacks per game.
Bull, is that because the Bengals' offensive line has been suspect in the past, or is it just because he's got another gear to his motor that he clicks it to when he's playing Cincinnati?
I think it's both.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the Bengals have had a poor offensive line. It's gotten a little better every year. I expect it to be
better this year
the
than
best
last.
it's been.
Yeah, I agree with
expect it to find. I expect them to finally get to the middle of the road with
but
their
the Browns'
offensive
defensive line is
But,
better than it's been.
Browns' offensive line is also way better than it's ever been.
Yeah.
And now you just can't double team him as much as you. Now the Bengals, and I think part of this is I haven't liked the Bengals' game plan against Myles Garrett. I don't know what they're going to do this week, but in the past they haven't doubled him a lot.
No, they have not.
And Myles Garrett gets doubled more than any player in the league, but the Bengals have not doubled him as much as other
But
teams,
is this
which I don't get.
Zach Taylor has to wake up and smell the
I would
roses
think.
here. The proof is in the pudding.
Yeah.
You damn well better double him because if you don't, you're going to get the similar results.
Especially if he lines up against Jonah Williams on the right. I mean, you've got to have a tight end to help him out. I think with Orlando Brown, it's a different story. You know, he can. I think again, Myles Garrett's a better defensive end than Orlando Brown as a left tackle, but Orlando Brown's a good enough left tackle that he'll be able to hold his own at least against Myles Garrett.
Yeah.
Jonah Williams can't. He's going to eat Jonah Williams' lunch if he goes up against him. And so on that side, especially, they should have a tight end, or at the very least a running back helping out almost all the time if he goes against Jonah Williams.
All right. So, no need to watch the game Sunday.
Yeah, we got to figure it out.
It's a wrap. They're going to win. The Browns are going to start 1-0, and the Bengals will be 0-1.
Don't say that. Listen,
This is a team that's won 2 openers
Don't say that.
since 1999.
We
2.5 because they got a tie.
We just got to get to the game. We just go.
They won 2 openers, and we're all out here. Oh, they're going to win. They're going to win. Yeah. We never learn.
And I will remind everybody one last time that on Sunday at the 2-minute warning, G. Bush, Earl the Pro, myself will be going live with instant reaction to whatever happens. It was some of our favorite moments last year. It provided some instant classics.
Oh, week 1 especially.
Including Cade York's game winner, Bull's reaction to that, the meltdown against the Jets, and much more as we went throughout the season.
That had
Starts
to be
the
the
2-minute
most
warning.
compelling live
It was good.
programming that we came up with all year.
It was very, very
I
good,
mean,
and I hope you guys tune in again to have
just
some fun with
watching
us.
Bull on the ebbs and flows of the Panthers game.
Oh,
Yeah,
that was
When
amazing.
Cade York made the kick,
he said,
Baker, you suck! That was so funny.
And then he threw up the next
Jay
day.
finally got
hopefully
something
I
right.
won't throw up.
Cade York
Hopefully I
was the
won't-
right pick.
Hopefully, I won't be throwing up here on Monday.
No, Mikey says, "Oh, listen, they're shooting off the fireworks. They're shooting off the fireworks, guys. The Browns are going to win this game. Nick Chubb does what he's supposed to do, scores a touchdown this game. Guys, hold on, guys. The Browns didn't get the onside kick. The Jets have it. The Jets have it. Oh my goodness, they scored. He's wide open. The Browns are going to lose this game.
Oh my!
But I think honestly, as watching the game was one of the most painful things I've ever done. I'm talking about the Jets.
Yeah.
But watching Bull and you guys watch the game and see those reactions was actually better than watching the game itself.
It hurt.
It is fun.
Do those live up there where people
Yeah,
can go
there's
see
a whole
them?
carousel. You go watch them all 17
Go down
last
that
year.
rabbit hole.
crazy.
Go to the week 1 post-game show.
Weeks 1 and 2.
Yep.
Then go to Monday after week 1 when the first mention of the Cincinnati Bengals losing came up on the show. That's when Bull
He gave it
famously barfed on air. And then go down the rabbit hole of watching the Jets live post-game show
Oh my
as
God.
London and Rome were falling in real time.
I got breaking news.
Uh-oh.
Breaking news.
What do we got?
According to Adam Schefter, Denzel Ward has been removed from concussion protocol.
Yeah.
Clear to
There we
play
go.
on Sunday against the Bengals. Denzel Ward will play. Juan Thornhill still on the injury report. His status very TBD. I have one super chat, then we're going to get into the last thing today. But Preston Herring sent this at the beginning of the show, Jay, when you were talking about your recovery. He said from Preston, COVID had me down all week as well, but UCSS and Browns football has brought me back. I am locked in. Love you guys. Go Browns.
Let's go.
They win
Love
by
it.
20
You don't
on Sunday.
need Plaxovid or any of these things. Just watch the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show,
That's right.
and it will make your COVID
Pep you
get
back
better
up.
instantly.
Yeah.
What I was going to say when and correct me if I'm wrong, Jay, but when Mary Kay said that Denzel was on the field practicing, I took that he had been cleared from protocol because
No,
you can't.
we were talking
We were
about that
talking about that
yesterday. You can be in a limited
but
practice.
she didn't even say his contact was limited. She just
Right.
said he's out on the field practicing. So I had taken that to that
He's
he
been
was
out on
cleared.
the field each of the last 2 days, but he can't. It's
As
no
a limited
contact,
participant,
limited by
right?
himself,
She didn't
so.
say limited participant.
Well,
she
but
said,
she didn't know. She wouldn't have known yet because you don't get to see
Yeah,
practice,
you only see
right?
the first couple
You only see
minutes
like
or
the
so.
warm-ups. And
Well,
stuff.
that's great news.
It
That
is
is
big news
great
for the Browns.
What is
They're gonna need
Thornhill
him.
listed as on
He's
the
listed as
questionable?
questionable with a calf
He'll
injury.
probably be a game time at this point.
Yeah.
It'll be
Sounds
game
like
time.
he
It's
will be.
amazing. You look at both these teams. There's only for the Browns, the only questionable player is Thornhill.
Right.
For the Bengals, one of their rotational defensive linemen, Joseph Asai, is out.
Yeah.
And that's it. So both teams are, I know there's some nagging stuff here and there, including Burrow,
Right.
but both teams are very healthy heading
Yeah.
into this game.
That's
One
what you
more
want.
announcement before we talk about the contract extension for Joe Burrow. Guys, we have officially broken a record for Friday views. By far.
Yeah.
Not even close.
Really?
Our highest viewed Friday show of all time. We still got 15 minutes to go on a topic that people have been asking for. Joe Burrow signed his contract
First of all,
extension.
thanks to all the viewers.
Yes.
that
Yes,
made
thank you guys.
UCSS.
The
Thank
last
you,
2
thank
weeks,
you.
I think we've had 10 of our 15 highest rated shows of
Well,
all time.
you know what tells me
including
is,
number 1 and 2.
It's what we spoke to.
Yeah.
The anticipation and the excitement about this Brown season
Yeah.
is at a historical fevered pitch.
The combo of that and us establishing the show now for 15 months
Yeah.
has led to this, yeah.
I thought it was me being here.
Well, and that's
Well,
it.
people love watching Jason pick his earwax. I mean,
Yeah.
for me, I
This
can't
thing
get
has
enough of
been
it.
popping out the whole show.
I've been watching it, and it's really.
I'm going to buy
Jason
Jason
an
a
earwax.
molded earpiece.
He needs
It's
one.
gonna
I'll
happen.
put you in touch with how you get one of
All
those.
right.
It fits your ear. It never comes out.
Oh.
It's molded.
It's really nice.
The
Jason,
tip
we can
has
get
been-
you in touch with Joe Burrow, who
mind.
now has, I think, a little extra cash to be able to afford a molded earpiece for
Yeah.
you. He did sign a contract extension last night, 5 years, $275 is the total number, $219 guaranteed. Slightly less than Watson on the guaranteed side, the most money ever in total money. But I know you're the Bengals guy here. Yes, Steve, you can take it back.
Obviously, I was very excited about this because the Bengals but the Orlando Brown Jr. contract that they just signed a couple of months ago
This is
had
stunning.
been the biggest guarantee they had ever paid, $50 million. The Bengals, I believe, had never signed a player, even including non-guaranteed money, to even. I don't think they've ever had a $100 million contract before that I can recall.
Insane to me.
And you knew they had to do it. I know there were some clowns who were like trying to bust my balls saying, "Oh, they're never going to sign him. He's going to be gone." That couldn't
They
happen.
could never let him get away.
No way. Otherwise, they might as well fold up the franchise.
They might as well.
If you're going to spend any money on a guy besides Patrick Mahomes, it's going to be on
He's a
this guy.
generational talent.
There's no doubt about it. He took them from one of the worst franchises in the league to one of the best franchises. Obviously, they have good talent around him, but he's the main reason
So
why.
we want to
He's
know
the
how
elixir.
this compares to the Watson contract.
And
Will this get talked about as much as the Watson deal?
In terms of what?
In terms of what?
In terms of, like, you know, people when they bring up Deshaun Watson, the first thing they bring up is how much money he make. Now,
Yeah.
are they going to be like 219 guaranteed?
I think it creates more pressure on him.
I think it puts more pressure
No doubt.
on Deshaun Watson.
But obviously, it's a different story, G, because he's played great since the moment he came in the league, and since Watson signed his contract, he was suspended and then didn't play well. That's a big difference. Number two, Watson has the off-the-field stuff, which Burrow doesn't have. That's a big part of it. You may think that's unfair, but that's obviously the reason why. Had Deshaun Watson not had any trouble off the field and had still been the same great quarterback that he was in Houston and came to Cleveland, I don't think it would
Nobody
be
would
talked
mention the
about
contract.
more than any other
The
quarterback.
agree with
contract,
that.
I don't think
the
so.
contract gets mentioned because of everything he went through, and then it looked like he gets rewarded with the biggest guaranteed contract in NFL history after all of that. That's why the contract gets mentioned.
I never understood the reward thing. You don't get rewarded. It's the market value.
That's true, yeah.
If a team's willing to
But
pay
guys,
it, yes.
I'm glad you used market value because I had a conversation with someone who's covered the league for many, many years about that right there, market value. And we've talked on this show, did the Browns overpay? Well, the Browns had a unquenchable thirst at that position.
Yes.
They hadn't been able to figure it out. They had this massive need. They're not falling out of trees. They weren't going to get one through the draft now that they've been upgraded in the talent cycle.
Yeah.
So they had no choice. They had to go out and do what they did.
Right.
I had people tell me at the time, this will not reset the guaranteed dollars in the NFL. And I didn't know if I believed that or not at first. I believe it now because the proof's in the pudding.
Yeah.
We've had 4 big-name contracts signed with guys that have had more success, and they have not had that guaranteed number of Deshaun's at 230.
For me personally, you're right. Technically, letter of the law. I look at this as a much bigger contract because I don't see any way on earth that he doesn't get that end of that contract.
Right, unless he just completely unfolds,
which
and
is
we
unlikely.
just don't see that coming.
Or they just give him a new contract by the time we get to that last year.
I look at all quarterbacks as guaranteed contracts because I haven't seen
as long as they're great players.
Yeah, I haven't seen a quarterback get that money and then get cut. I just haven't seen.
Well,
no, it's happened.
Wentz and Goff.
Yeah, they got
huge
traded. Contracts.
They got traded.
Well, I just
Wentz
look at Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz got paid.
Right. But what is the percentage chance that Joe Burrow is going to fall
turn into Carson Wentz?
Yeah.
I think very small. But
right.
at the same time, when Carson Wentz was playing at an MVP level, who would have
130?
said at that point, "Oh yeah, he'll be out of football in 3 years."
Right, but in the end, the difference between 219 guaranteed and 230 is obviously
negligible. But still, the bar has been set,
I will
and no
say
one
this,
has broken it.
I saw some people scoffing us and say, "Oh, they said Joe Burrow was going to take a hometown discount." Blah blah. I mean, listen, he's per year. The whole contract, it's the highest paid contract ever. He could have demanded the whole thing. He could have said, you got to pay me the whole thing guaranteed or I'm not signing it.
He could have gotten it.
And he would have eventually gotten it somewhere or somehow, but he didn't do that in the end. Obviously it's a great contract, But
I
yes,
think he overplayed his hand about how he was so adamant that he was going to play his whole career in Cincinnati. I just think that you lose bargaining power when you do that.
I mean, he still got it.
He still got paid.
He got paid, I know, but
I texted Bull at the combine and said they're signing him, and his name should be Joe Burrow. Because the whole reason that they were able to sign him is because they sold the naming rights. That's why they sold the naming rights
for the first time.
Is to give it to Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
So it's Joe Burrow.
And they got to pay. They probably are. They should sign both Higgins and Chase. They probably won't.
They won't.
They'll probably.
They get one of the two, but they're not getting
sign
both.
Chase. You have to sign Chase.
you have to sign Chase. And
they'll probably. My guess is they'll franchise Higgins and have him for one more year.
I think that's exactly what's going to happen.
The terms never came out on the Paycor deal. I think it's 16 years, but the financials, it's over 100. Like almost always.
It has to be.
Naming rights are over 100, but I don't know how far over 100.
Yeah.
But that's going directly to him. I don't know how much is going to be left over for the other guys.
Remember that this contract does not kick in until 2025. So
it's an extension.
He's signed through the Bengals through 29.
Let me ask you this: all things being equal, knowing what we know today, going into the season, I tell you, you're the Browns. You can have Burrow at 275, 219 locked, or you can have Deshaun Watson 230 locked.
I mean, right now, today, there's nobody on the planet that would take.
I'd take Burrow. I'd take Burrow.
Yeah, if you look just on now, there wouldn't be very many people that would take Deshaun Watson over Joe Burrow. However, you got to also look, that number for Deshaun Watson at 230 is because of the Browns' ineptitude. When you are bad,
well, the Bengals have been pretty damn inept too.
Well, they had,
but they lucked into their franchise guy in the draft.
But they drafted him.
We got Baker Mayfield. They got Joe Burrow.
So when you miss on Baker, and you got the team around him, and you got to get it now, and you're in a pinch, you're going to have to pay a premium.
That's right.
If I want a red-eye flight tonight, it's costing me more, right?
Yep.
We needed a red-eye quarterback.
That's right. I got no problem.
He's our red-eye quarterback.
And you know what?
Jason pushed me. He had three haymakers today. I had none. I had to get one off.
Here's the bottom line on the Deshaun Watson contract. There's two things that are going to happen. He's going to get back to being a great quarterback, and then we don't care how much they spent on him.
Nope.
Yeah.
Or he's just shot for whatever reason. He can't get it together. He's just mediocre and nothing. And even if they would have only guaranteed him $150 million, it still would have been a disaster.
And then we all going to look crazy.
Yeah, you're right.
If he's that guy.
It just makes it more of a disaster.
It's just more of a
than
disaster.
It's $230 million.
If he plays great, you're still going to care about the contract in a few years. And
because of the cap hit.
But you're like, okay, well, we had to do it. He's great.
I'm starting to dig into this a little bit more. I might write something next week.
They pushed it all back.
Okay.
Say what you texted me first before you get into what you're going to say.
I lost my earpiece again. What did he say?
Say what you said to him first.
What, this morning?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think, in talking to some people, I think that the reason that they're able to do this is because of Jimmy's liquidity. And he has more cash than a lot of NFL owners. So by redoing these contracts, they turn it into bonuses that you have to pay up front. So you pay that money now, and other owners don't have that money to pay those guys right now.
But ultimately, doesn't there come a bill due on that?
Yes,
on the cap. That's what
the Buccaneers this year have like $75 million in dead cap money, 35 of it from Tom Brady
and
from
that
doing
is
the
a
same
boat
thing.
anchor.
And the Falcons, what the Falcons did with Matt Ryan, restructuring every year, they ended up having just cap misery. Now, you don't care about this right now. I get it. Like, don't care about it.
Yeah, 4 years
Bengals
from
on
now.
Sunday.
But there will become a day. There's going to be a reckoning for this.
The bill is going to come due.
Right.
It's not this year. It's not next year.
No,
but
it's a
the
couple
bill
years
is
down the
going to
line.
come
And
due.
if you win, it doesn't matter.
No.
If you don't.
But you know what? You have to LA Rams win.
Yes,
you can't
of course.
just win a couple playoff
No, you got to win the Super Bowl.
because that's an ultimate debacle failure too.
Jay, I've had more fun watching the Bengals the last 2 years than I ever have. Like, I love Boomer. I love Kenny Anderson. There were some good moments with Andy Dalton. The Bengals went to the Super Bowl twice when I was a kid.
Sure.
But I've never had more fun watching the Bengals than the last 2 years. But ultimately, and they got as close as you can get without winning. They lost the Super Bowl on essentially the last play of the game. But if they don't win a Super Bowl, it's a massive disappointment in the end.
You're right.
If you have a quarterback that gives you a chance, the Bengals do, the Browns do, or at least we think the Browns do. If you don't win the Super Bowl, it's a disappointment.
It is.
No,
and the level of that disappointment is tied to how much it handicaps your team after that run. Because again, there are Rams fans today that are crying in their beer, but they have championship champagne all in their hands.
That's right.
Yep.
And that's okay. I'll trade 3-4 bad years. I've traded 30 bad years and got nothing to show for it.
If the Browns win the Super Bowl over the next 4 years, let them suck in 2030, whatever.
You're right. You're right.
When you guys
but
get
you better
old
win.
and you be out of here, I'll play the guard's role and say, listen, Don't worry about Social Security. You guys will be fine. And the national debt is what? We don't care. G. Bush going to tell you we drank Kool-Aid 30 years ago. That Kool-Aid cost us millions and billions and deficit money. But who cares? We got a ring, right? We won. I enjoyed it.
That's it.
Yeah, we've got to win. That's it. And ultimately, this team is going to be judged on winning a Super Bowl.
That's it.
And that road starts Sunday at 1 o'clock.
Woo!
Exactly.
Can't believe
48 hours from right now, guys.
Can't believe it.
We're going to be like kids at Christmas. And I know you guys will at home. If you're at the game, wherever you're watching, enjoy it. Have fun with this season. We think it's going to be a great season. We hope it is anyhow.
And we love that you're with us. You shattered our numbers the last 2 weeks, shattered our Friday numbers today. You fans are the best. Even when I yell at you, I still love you. Thank you so much for being a big part of it. It's awesome. No overtime today.
Are you simping for the fans?
Yep.
Yes. I'm simping for
We
the
do
fans,
simp for the fans.
Yeah.
And that's a good reminder. There is no overtime. We have a staff meeting we all have to get to, so
Yes.
no overtime today. Big announcement coming next week. Post-game show. Gio, you doing a barbershop today?
Is there a barbershop
Not today.
I don't remember. Was it Monday, Wednesday, Friday? I can't remember.
Pull it together.
No, it's Monday.
Monday. Okay,
but you can
barbershop on Monday.
You can listen to my radio show, though, too. You can
His
listen to that
radio
8 to
show
12.
on Saturday.
Yeah, you leave.
It's a UCSS takeover. And there's 4 of us
It
from
is,
now
man.
on till the
By
end.
the way, I had a member of the 92.3 The Fan staff text me today and say, what an absolute joke that we are not allowed to go on your show.
Oh, wow.
Well, listen, I think it hurts them, and I think it hurts us.
Stupid.
It'd be great
They're
to, it'd
allowed.
be great
We
to,
would take them.
We take 'em?
We would take them.
Absolutely.
Listen,
our
why
hearts
not?
are open. Our hearts are
Like
open.
this is a fraternity. We're all in this
Ridiculous.
business together, and this
Ridiculous.
idea. I thought the same thing at ESPN. I would be asked to go on shows on Fox. Can't do it.
So dumb.
Stupid.
Go
All right.
Browns.
See
Peace.
you guys Monday.